Hello, everyone.
Hey guys.
I am Cryogenic Gamer. Say hello, my special guest, or, I'm your special guest because, this is going to be on your channel as well, most likely, but yeah.
Hey guys, I'm MegaLegoLuigiEX.
So, we're here doing something slightly different, since we usually do Let's Plays. So, we are doing something a bit different here, and, I thought it would be a little fun thing to make this into a video, and we could discuss this, me and MegaLego, and just have fun with this, come up with ideas, and see where it goes.
Yeah.
For you see, me and MegaLego were having a discussion the other night about what the future of the Sonic series would entail. We are obviously Sonic fans, because if you aren't a Sonic fan, then why are you watching a discussion about a Sonic game?
Yeah, exactly. What are you
when
doing?
it comes to... yeah, it's like, what are you doing here? But if... we were basically just discussing what we thought the future of the series is going to be. What do we want out of this series? Because we were having a discussion about Sonic Forces, and as much as that game triggers me, and as much as I want to scream about it every single time that word Forces is brought up to me, and I hear it, we were having a, as civilized as it can be when I'm around, discussion about Forces. And, well, we just thought, we were basically nitpicking throughout most of the game and seeing what we thought was wrong about it. Like, the story, gameplay, all that sort of jazz. And then we were just thinking, what do we want out of a Sonic game? What do we want the next Sonic game to be? And even if it wouldn't be the most realistic of games to ever be released by Sonic Team, what would be our perfect idea of, like, a modern 3D Sonic game? And me and him basically bounced back and forth ideas and, all sorts of that stuff, and we just thought we came up with a pretty good idea of what we thought, like, a combination of our ideas would be, and we're basically just here to tell you all what we thought of, as well as keep evolving that idea. So, MegaLegoLuigi, would you care to start off the explanation as to what we thought of for a new 3D Sonic game?
Okay, yeah, sure. And also real quick, we want to show this off to you guys, and so basically you guys can think of it, and you can agree or not. And so, yeah, this is a discussion, not just the two of us, but the rest of the Sonic fan base, because the two of us think that this might be a very good thing for the Sonic games, the Sonic franchise, and the Sonic community as a whole. But if you guys disagree, then just, I don't know, just comment your thoughts on the video. And so yeah, that's just one quick disclaimer or whatever that I just want to say. But anyway, so the other night, Cryo and I were talking about a bunch of things related to Sonic, and basically we're contemplating about Sonic's future and, like, how confused and it currently is, especially with, like, how it all started when Sonic Generations brought in Modern Sonic and Classic Sonic at the same time, and at that point no one really knew the ramifications that it would cause until now, when we have Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces, which basically have, like, separated those two basically eras into two different characters, two different game styles. And basically what this game that we have thought of is trying to combine both of those things together, but trying to combine things from from classic and modern together. And yes, we're also sprinkling in a little adventure / Dreamcast era in there, but we're basically trying to bridge the gap between the people that like modern Sonic and people like classic Sonic. Sonic Forces tried doing that with how it's a modern Sonic game, but they brought in classic Sonic. However, classic Sonic was just shoehorned in, and his physics were all wonky and really weird, and many other different things. But hey, this isn't a Forces review. We're just, so yeah. This game is basically what we thought of, it's trying to bring in a bunch of elements from both eras, similar to what Sonic Lost World did, which is one of the few cool things that I like about that game. However, there are a few other flaws that just like kind of cover it up. Kind of sad to say, but yeah. Anyway, so basically what our idea is that I don't know how to explain this as well, because like this was actually, I'm gonna be honest with you, this whole thing was mainly Cryo's idea. So Cryo, if you'd like, you can start the whole thing about the game itself if you want.
Okay. So I'm gonna go over the most basic elements first. Firstly, no Classic Sonic. Getting rid of that thing entirely. Throwing him out. He's got Mania. He's got Christian Whitehead. We don't need him in another game. That is done. We're done with Classic Sonic. Throwing him out entirely. Second, no, like unoriginal levels. No themes from previous games. Nothing like that. Every single level theme is going to be completely original, and we'll get into one of the ideas we had for an original level later down the pipeline, and we'll talk about that more in depth later. But yeah, so every level is going to be original, all that. It's gonna be all good. No one has to complain about Green Hill or Chemical Plant ever again.
Yeah, and honestly about all that, if we were to have any possible game idea that would actually bring back an old an old level, honestly, I think of something that's not been in Generations or Mania or Forces, so probably, I don't know, something like Starlight Zone, if you're, to be honest, because, like, we haven't seen that since the original Sonic the Hedgehog, so yeah, I don't know, something like that. Just something that isn't just repeatedly shoehorned just for the sake of nostalgia and it just gets all boring over and over and over again. But yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because again, we were talking about this, and it's like the series itself, as of late, this video could be horribly outdated in a few years, but as of 2018, in, you know, July, this issue has been plaguing the Sonic series, honestly, since around 2010, where we practically, again, as of this video's recording, is like, we're basically in a nostalgia era. And, like, I know myself, I'm absolutely sick of it. I am tired of, like, you know, your Green Hills, your Chemical Plants, your Sky Sanctuaries, your, like, all that. I'm absolutely tired of it. Like, can we have something new, which is what this hypothetical new game would be? Because, like, I want Sonic to be fresh. I want it to be new and innovative. It hasn't been that for around 8 years now, and it's starting to wear on me a little bit. Like, another thing, which is why we're getting rid of Classic Sonic completely, is because, like, again, I brought this point up, I'm kind of sick of, like, having to, like, separate classic and modern Sonic in any discussion. I just want to have Sonic. I don't want to have, again, classic or modern Sonic, because, again, that just splits the fan base even more. So, I mean, sure, people may be upset that classic Sonic isn't in the game, but for those people, you're obviously going to have Mania and whatever game comes after that, because we all know that a sequel is coming at some point. I mean, Mania Plus is supposedly the highest rated Sonic game in over 2 decades, but, so, like, you're pretty well assured that you're going to be getting a sequel to that game. But
or at least another classic Sonic game similar to that.
Yeah, and me and MegaLegoLuigi, we are big fans of modern Sonic. Me, myself, I love both sides of Sonic, but, you know, I feel like modern Sonic has kind of been getting the short end of the stick as of nearly the past decade, and I feel like it's about time that we try to do something new with it again, because I know for me, I feel like I haven't seen anything really new come out of the series since Colors. Like, everything's been either, you know, oh, remember this? Remember that? Oh, Sonic's personality is going down the drain completely. Every single character has become a caricature of themselves. They've all been flanderized. The plots are so basic and boring that, like, you know, they try like, they advertise, oh, we're gonna do something with this, and then never do something with this. It makes you wonder why they're not just doing, like, a simple story. And acting as a segue, because I'm so good at this, as you can clearly tell, the story of this hypothetical game is just going to be Eggman, like, versus Sonic, classic Sonic action, which has two meanings in this case, but we're going to have Eggman, essentially, I don't know what you want to do with this, whatever you want to do, I don't care, but, like, the random idea that popped in my head was Eggman using the essence of the planet's, like, you know, energy, basically, its minerals, its resources, all of that, sucking it up and converting it into energy to charge, like, say, a giant space laser in the sky. Think Adventure 2, but, like, slightly different and impacting the world itself a little bit more.
So yeah, basically like Lost World, but no malfunctioning machines and no alien species screwing up Eggman's plans in the during the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and again, we haven't thought of what the first level of this game would be like, but we do know what a later level would be, and again, we'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about some specific ideas we have for levels and stuff like that. But some basic gameplay mechanics, since the story kind of is going to be taking a back seat. We're going to be talking about, like, the core gameplay mechanics. MegaLegoLuigi, do you want to start with some of the core gameplay mechanics that we have thought of?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so as, I think Cryo might have said this before, this is gonna be fully 3D, so, yeah. Classic Sonic can just stick with the 2D side-scroller. We're going with fully 3D, from Adventure to 06, fully 3D, no 2D, and also we're gonna be changing up. It's gonna have the boost, but not the way you'd expect. It's not exactly gonna be the exact same hold a button boost formula since Unleashed and Generations and Forces. No, it's gonna be slightly different. It's gonna be similar to something known as the boost mode, which was a thing in Sonic Advance 2, if I recall.
Yes.
Yeah, Sonic Advance 2. And it was kind of like the origin of the boost, and it slowly, and once again, yeah, Sonic Advance 2 was developed by Dimps, and then it was then refined into the actual boost meter that we saw in Sonic Rush, which was then adapted into Sonic Unleashed, and the rest is history. And so, the different thing about the boost mode is that it's not activated by holding down a button. It's actually like, I don't remember the full explanation, but from what I can remember, is that it's basically you start building up enough speed, and then you break into the boost mode, and then for those people who've played Sonic Advance 2, that's basically where Sonic, or whoever you're playing as, gets like a blurry after image behind him when he builds up enough speed, and he's basically able to blast through the rest of the stage.
Yeah, and the way this mechanic would be activated would be, again, building up speed. However, there would be a few modifications to that to make it more interesting, I guess, for this more complex 3D experience. See, the way that you would have to build up your boost meter wouldn't just be you run really fast, and then if you keep running fast, you'll enter your boost mode. No, that's what Green Hill Paradise Act 2 did, the Sonic fan game, and I like what they had there, but I feel like it could have been a bit more difficult to execute, especially since this isn't going to be an open world 3D Sonic game. It's going to be more open than the average boost Sonic game that you see nowadays, but the way the boost mode is going to function is going to be a bit more complex, since again, there aren't going to be as many opportunities as something like Green Hill Paradise or Sonic Utopia that you would get in order to access the basic boost mode that you, again, see in Sonic Advance 2 and 3, as well as the fan game Green Hill Paradise Act 2. And the way you would activate it would be, again, this game is all momentum-based, completely physics-based and momentum-based, where, side note, we're going to basically be taking modern Sonic from Generations, and we'll get more in depth as to how he controls in a little bit after my explanation of how the boost mode works. So anyway, so you keep moving fast, and if you keep moving fast throughout the level, yeah, you're going to keep moving fast. Again, it's physics-based. So it's not just about, you know, building up speed through momentum, though. It's, again, a bit more complicated than that. See, there are rings throughout the level, just like in any Sonic game, where, of course, taking a hit with rings would keep you from death, and you can recollect rings, blah blah blah. You've seen it before. And there's a slight twist again, however. There aren't going to be as many rings as in other Sonic games. It's not going to be like, say, a Sonic Rush or like Sonic Generations type thing, where there are rings all over the place, and your boost meter fills up anytime you collect rings. That's not quite the case, for you see, the boost meter is going to, again, be filled by rings. And the only way that you can enter your boost mode is if you keep building up speed while collecting rings. See, if you keep moving fast, yeah, you'll keep moving fast, but you can only enter boost mode if you keep consistently collecting rings while going fast. And once you enter boost mode, your boost meter, which can be displayed at the lower left hand of the screen, just like in games like Unleashed, Colors, Generations, and Forces, you'll have your boost meter. However, that boost meter will rapidly keep depleting as you're in boost mode. And quick side note again, your boost mode will instantly end if you start to slow down significantly. So you have to keep moving in order to keep your boost mode. Again, similar to Green Hill Paradise Act 2 and the Sonic Advance games. And as your boost meter keeps depleting, you're going to have to keep collecting rings in order to fill it. For you see, again, the boost meter, it's impossible, like, as you keep boosting, the boost meter is going to constantly keep depleting. There's no way for you to stop it from depleting as long as you're in boost mode. The only way for you to stop the boost mode from depleting is if you exit boost mode. And again, in order to fill up your boost mode, you need to keep collecting rings while boosting. See, you need to build up speed in order to enter your boost mode. The rings that you collect while you're moving fast also fill to your boost gauge before you start boosting, if that makes any sense. Essentially, if you keep running forward and then collect rings consistently, you'll enter boost mode, and those rings that you collected before entering boost mode add to your boost gauge before your boost mode actually starts. So it's similar to Generations, only think of it as, instead of pressing a button, you need to fill up your boost mode before activating it. You need to fill up that meter before activating your boost mode. And that boost mode will, again, that meter will constantly keep depleting, and in order to keep filling it up and maintain your boost mode, you need to constantly keep collecting rings. So that's how the boost mode is going to work, essentially. And MegaLegoLuigi, do you want to get into some other aspects of Sonic's basic control?
Yeah, sure, but real quick, one thing that I want to bring up is that, some of you guys might, while watching this, might be, like, a little confused as to, like, why we seem to be nerfing the boost a bit, but, let me just try to explain that real quick. So, I remember a while ago I was watching a few, Generations mods. I remember one of them was of Grand Metropolis, this one level from Sonic Heroes, recreated in Sonic Generations. And so I'm like, oh, that's really cool. However, I realized something. I had recently, before that, I had recently just finished watching a Let's Play of Sonic Heroes. And so the game was pretty fresh in my mind. I still haven't played Heroes, unfortunately. The only Dreamcast era game I've played has been Adventure. Specifically the DX version on my PC, but I still haven't played Heroes. And so, while I was watching that, I had the level design from Heroes fresh in my mind, but, like, the person playing this was just like, with how Generations and the most recent modern Sonic games have worked since Unleashed, he's just been boosting through everything, just blasting on through, and just like missing all kinds of things that I remember. I'm like, oh, wow, huh. And that's, so basically, what was in my mind is that I feel like if you just brought in an adventure map, an adventure stage, and slapped it onto a modern Sonic boost to win formula game, it wouldn't work, because you can just boost right through it without a care and just not be able to take in the scenery or the level design or anything like that. And so basically what Cry and I have been doing here is we're trying to limit the boost a little bit to make but keep it rewarding. So it's like, yeah, you get like a crap ton of speed and that like that kind of exhilarating feel that you get when you're boosting. You're just like going through the stage as fast as you can, but we also want the player to also appreciate the level design. So it's like, let's say there are like some areas where it's like very platform based. You can't just jump right at the beginning and then boost, or like air boost or something like that, and then just skip the whole thing. No, we want this game also to be somewhat challenging, so you have to like concentrate, make sure that you make sure that your footing is right and that you land on the platform, or else you're just obviously gonna die. And so yeah, and also one quick thing that I want to add about the boost is that you're not invincible. In this game, you're going to hurt if you run into enemies. And that's one other thing, just so the boost isn't OP and you just like blast the stage. Because one thing that I realized while I was playing Sonic Forces is that you can easily beat every single 3D section just by holding down the boost button. And that's where the whole thing of like, oh, the joke about, oh, the only thing you need to do to win to beat Sonic Forces is just to hold down the boost button and then the occasional jump. That's all you need to do, at least for the 3D section. Sometimes you actually have to do something for the platforming, but that's when you're not boosting. That's when you're either just jumping on platforms, and even then the platforming was a little wonky in that game. And so we're this whole thing is like, we're trying to make the boost not as OP, but also still rewarding and still how it's liked, and also give chances to appreciate the level instead of just blasting through without a care.
Yeah, because like we want to make sure that the boost is still rewarding without making it feel, you know, we don't want to make it completely overpowered and feel like, again, you need to constantly be boosting. We want to make sure that the boost is a technique that is heavily used in the game, however, it's not required. The boost is never required throughout this whole game. Like, say for example, in areas like Seaside Hill in Sonic Generations, and Adabat in Sonic Unleashed, in order to run on water, you have to be boosting, or at least you need to constantly keep boosting so that way you don't lose your speed. In this game, you can run on water without boosting for as long as you need to, as long as you're like, you know, you're fast enough. You don't need the boost mode in order to, say, make it across, like, large gaps and, like, run across water. That's all about, like, the physics engine and the momentum of the game itself. The boost mode, again, is never required in order to beat the game. It's completely optional, and we wanted to add it in, but nerf it, so that way it's still we want to make it difficult to obtain boost. Well, not insanely difficult, but somewhat more challenging than just pressing a single button and having enough of your meter maxed out. What we want to do is make sure that the boost, again, is still rewarding, but we want to make sure that you're still moving fast in order to get the boost. Think of it as speed is a reward, similar to the classic games, and again, that goes into the whole aspect of us combining modern and classic Sonic, but just, you know, freshening it up a bit, because you'll always want to keep moving fast. You don't want to be halted in any way. So we're basically making that speed is easily accessible. However, if you want more speed and you really want that big modern Sonic rush, you're going to want to learn the level and memorize it and know how to, like, gain momentum in order to go fast enough, in order to speed up and actually enter boost mode. And that leads into a few extra things that we'll talk about again in a little bit when we get into the levels. But yeah, the boost mode is basically there for experienced players. Think of it as a player beating, say, Green Hill in about 3 minutes their first run, but an experienced player being able to beat it in around 25 seconds. Think about it that way. Yeah, and MegaLegoLuigi, can you get into Sonic's basic control, not the boost? Basic.
Yeah. I just want to bring that to light because that's something that I've noticed. If you try to just mash adventure level design with the boost formula, it doesn't really work the way you think it would. And so, alright, now, as Cryo said earlier, the boost is optional, and it's not by the press of the button, it's just by gaining momentum and speed. So then, similar to what Sonic Lost World did, they got, instead we're not getting rid of the boost, it's still going to be there, obviously. However, just like Lost World, Sonic's going to have the spin dash again. So that's like that's his button ability, like you press it and hold it. I'm not sure if if you explained this. Would this be like the adventure spin dash where you just hold the button and then just go, or would it be like classic Sonic where you have to stop, crouch, and then hold down the spin dash button?
Yeah, I was thinking about having something similar to what Sonic Utopia did, where you have, well, okay, I want to make things a little bit different here. I want to have a separate spin dash button, say the square or circle button, just using the PlayStation controller as basis. Say having the square button be like your spin dash button, but then I want to have a separate button for rolling. You may think that could be a little bit confusing, but basically think of it as the spin dash button would work similar to how it does in Adventure 1 and 2. And then say you're at like an incline, but you don't want to like stop, like you want to gain more speed to enter boost mode, since that's such a big focus for experienced players. You don't want to halt your progression and have to stand still, hold the spin dash button, and then go fast. I want to add a roll button that is separate from the spin dash itself. That way you can still keep up speed without having to mix it up with the spin dash and have there be control issues and having it be like, oh, I wanted to spin dash, but I rolled instead because I was moving. Something like that. Have it be two separate buttons. That way we won't get into the Adventure 2 problem where, say, you use somersault instead of light speed dash.
Yeah, and maybe it could be that you can just... Actually, wait, no, I was about to say something stupid. I was about to say, you can hold down and then you'll roll, but this is a 3D Sonic game, not a 2D Sonic game. I've been playing too much Mania, I'm sorry. But yeah.
Mania is a fantastic
game.
Yeah,
it could be that, it could be like the whole crouch button thing. That's how, that could be Sonic's, roll, and that could just allow him to, like if he's moving fast enough and then you press the crouch button, and instead of doing that slide that he's been doing in like Colors and Generations, he would do the roll, and that would still do the same thing, because when he's rolling, he's obviously gonna be like a smaller height than if he would be standing up. So that could just be the same purpose for that, for like ducking under smaller areas, but it'd also be like how classic Sonic has you rolling in the classic games ever since the beginning. You roll and then you can, it's basically like the spin dash, except you're still much slower. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to add. But continuing off of that, not only can you play as Sonic, you're gonna be able to play as the classic trio. We got Sonic, we got Tails, and we got Knuckles. And what we had in mind with those is that I think, Cryo, you said this earlier, that the story isn't going to be like 100% ambitious about the whole game itself. It's not going to be like Forces, where it's to be like, oh, Eggman has taken over the entire world, a new opponent has showed up, he defeated Sonic, Sonic's been imprisoned for 6 months, there's the Resistance, and then there's the whole Phantom Ruby, the whole confusing thing about that, saying that it's just an illusion maker, even though that makes it even more confusing. But yeah, we're trying to make this simple, and there's actually one important reason we'll get into later, that basically is why yet another reason why we're making the story simple. And basically, it's something kind of like Colors, where it was basically like, oh, Eggman's made a this weird space theme park. There's probably something fishy going on, and then you find out, oh yeah, Sonic was right about this. He's kidnapping aliens and using them to power his machine. And it's basically that kind of simplicity, except we're not gonna have Sonic crack a joke or do something somewhat, or like trying to be comedical at the beginning and end of every single boss fight he has, like in Colors, because sometimes those are a little awkward. And by an example of that being the end of the Planet Wisp boss fight, when he's talking to the dead robot, and then Tails catches him. It's just weird. And so yeah.
Yeah, but sorry. I explained the gameplay. Like the
I was getting
gameplay?
to that. So yeah, I was just saying that the story is going to be very simple, but also still have like kind of like that modern Sonic story charm that it's had. Basically, so we got Sonic's button ability, basically, if you want to say, is his spin dash, which we already went in depth with that. For Tails, it's going to be his flight, and then Knuckles, it's going to be his glide.
I was gonna basically think like the air boost itself is not going to be in the game for Sonic. Sonic is going to have to base off his speed off of momentum, but the way Tails and Knuckles are going to work is if, like, say your ring meter, like your boost meter is filled up, and like say you aren't in boost mode, but your boost meter isn't filled up, you're not boosting. Basically pressing what would essentially be the spin dash button for Sonic in the air would activate Tails' flight and Knuckles' glide. Both would use up your boost mode without you having to be in boost mode itself, if that makes any sense.
So, if I understand what you're saying, that would mean that Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles get this boost mode thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Alright, yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah. You can tell that Cryo is the brains behind this whole thing. I don't... Yeah.
Well, yeah, come on, he came up with ideas too. That's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. But yeah. So yeah, as Cryo put it, Tails and Knuckles are also going to get the boost / boost mode, whatever you want to call it, and then it's also going to have his Tails' flight and Knuckles' glide and incorporated with the boost meter. That's something that's like I've been thinking of for a while. It's like, okay, how could we incorporate the boost mode, the boost meter with other playable characters? Because like you have like speed-oriented characters like Sonic and Shadow. They obviously have boost. It's like, what if we had that with other characters, like more flight or power-related characters like Tails and Knuckles, and that could be their flight, Tails' flight and Knuckles' glide. So yeah. And so sorry about that.
Yeah.
And so moving on from like the characters, we're getting into like some of the level design and things like that. And so basically, as Cryo put it earlier, the boost is optional. It is 100% optional. You don't have to use it for anything, unless you want to. And basically, the way you play the game like a normal Sonic game. However, like I said, the boost is optional, and also like similar to how Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Mania have certain Knuckles exclusive areas. They could find, just because like Knuckles is able to just ram into certain walls and stuff like that, while Sonic and Tails can't. We're gonna have something like that that's like exclusive to Sonic, exclusive to Tails, exclusive to Knuckles. Probably for Sonic, it'd be something like Lava Reef Zone, having those like spin dash, gear activating things that like take you up or down a certain area, or it's like you have to spin dash in order to open up this this closed door. And meanwhile with Tails, it's obviously going to be something that's like, oh, you have to fly up a certain area that Sonic and Knuckles can't reach. And then for Knuckles, it's going to be similar to how he's always been, where it's basically he's the strongest character, so he can just like bust open through certain areas and take ultimate pathways. And yeah.
Yeah, and getting into that, again, Mega, do you mind talking about how Sonic is going to control, not his basic moveset, but how he will control himself?
Okay. I don't recall how discussing about like that kind of the basic controls from when we first talked about this. So would you be fine with?
Yeah. Basically, what I was thinking was we were going to take modern Sonic from Sonic Generations, and you won't need to change that much about him besides obviously changing the boost drastically and changing his boost to a spin dash. What we're going to do is take Sonic's like Generations control and physics, but make him slightly more physics-based, make him essentially easier to turn around, make him more responsive. Well, not responsive, but I guess more fluid. Make it so he can like turn on a dime, basically.
Like the adventure games, because when I grew up with modern and classic games. I didn't play any of the Dreamcast games until like last winter, and when I played Sonic Adventure for the first time, even though it was on the PC and like the PC doesn't have the best controls when you do it on a keyboard, it's better to connect a controller to it and then play like your, I don't know, like an Xbox controller or something like that. But even while I was using the keyboard, it was like, oh my god, the responsiveness and like the movement with Sonic is so fluid. And like something that I test with some of the Sonic games is I try running around. I'm in an open 3D area and I try running around in a circle. I've done that in Colors and in Generations, and they both have similar results where it doesn't really work. You can't really run around in a circle because it's like Sonic feels kind of stiff when controlling that. That's why 3D platforming has been like a little weird for those games. However, with Adventure and Adventure 2 and all the other Dreamcast era games, you could easily move. It's much more responsive, and you can, and like Cryo said, you can easily stop, or you can easily stop and turn on a dime. And also another thing is the jump, because the jump should be like similar to how it was in Adventure, where you can easily like move around when you're jumping. And meanwhile, in like Colors and Generations, it's very hard to move while you're jumping. Like like I said before, the control with both moving around in a circle and also jumping is pretty stiff. So yeah, that's just one thing that I wanted to add on to that, with like trying to change up Sonic's controls just to make it more fluid and more basically more responsive than the more recent games have been.
Yeah, of course, because like again with games like Forces, because that game triggers me, but when it comes to Forces, I feel like moving around in a circle in that game is like, again, I have a problem with the level design where I don't really, like to this day, I don't really know if I can move Modern Sonic in a full wide circle. Like not in like a tiny little circle, because obviously I'm just gonna flick directions. To this day, I still do not know if like Forces Sonic can even smoothly turn around in a wide like arc, because the level design is so ridiculously straightforward and linear that I don't think you even get like maybe you get like one or two opportunities, like rarely, but I don't really know how Modern Sonic controls, and I feel like that's kind of sad.
I don't think he can really turn well at all in that game, because in Metropolitan Highway there's like this one section that's really hard to turn even while you're not boosting, and I've died so many times while doing that just because I've had trouble with that, and I'd have to do the side step, the quick step, in order to stay on the stage and not fall off, because Sonic can't turn. He doesn't have the drift either, so that's a huge problem with that. And he also can't turn very well in that game. Like, if you recall, in other parts of Metropolitan Highway and also in Lost Valley, there are certain areas that have like a slight, that have like a curve that turns Sonic, ends up Sonic going 180 degrees from where he was going earlier. However, those have those like dash panel booster things that end up pushing Sonic in the specific direction he's going, and I'm pretty sure the developers, I don't wanna point any fingers or anything like that, but it's like they knew that Sonic couldn't turn very well in Forces, so they had to basically have it so that the game turned Sonic forward.
Yeah, and like again, building off of that, in this game I want to get rid of dash panels completely, because this game is so like ridiculously speed based. What's the point of dash panels? You're going to be able to spin dash anyway. If you want to move directly straight forward, then spin dash, roll. I don't care. Like, the player is free to pretty much do whatever they want. You don't need dash panels. And when it comes to the drift, I am keeping the drift and I am keeping the quick step. Glad you brought that up, because obviously sometimes, say, if you're moving straight forward and you're boosting, again, it's going to be easier to turn, but again, you're going to be moving a lot faster. So for the people that may seem like it's hard to react to things so quickly, this is one of the problems that Sonic Boom's speed sections had. Things can move so fast that you don't have the time to react to obstacles correctly. So what I was thinking is keep the quick step, and you could do it at any time. You could do it while you're not boosting or while you're boosting, but I want to keep the quick step just because that way it's easier to just, like, maybe nudge Sonic slightly to the right or left to avoid an obstacle instead of having to turn all the way around it, because you're going to be so smoothly able to turn around that maybe you may think you're going to dart off into the other direction, because again, you're going to be moving faster, you're going to be somewhat slippier to control. But I still want to make sure that your player, like, the player has a way to control Sonic easily, instead of having to worry about careening off the edge of the stage. Like, just slightly nudge them left or right. That way it's not a complete, like, it's not, like, insanely hard to, like, move around an object and still keep moving forward, if that's what you want to do. Plus, I want to keep the drift just so it's easier to make turns. And, well, Sonic can easily turn himself, but again, for the boost mode, since again that's going to be so prevalent, I want to make sure that people are going to be, like, easily able to make turns, instead of having to, like, boost straight forward, not knowing how to react to things. I want to make sure they can still turn easily without having to, like, rely on the analog stick, because again, with the boost mode, you're going to be a lot more slippery, and the drift is a lot more tight. So yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
One more bit of Sonic's basic control is the homing attack. I don't want the homing attack to be, like, in the boost games themselves, and I don't even want it to be, like, an adventure. This is a complete, like, not a complete reworking of how the homing attack works. I'm going to take some elements from other games and how they use the homing attack effectively. But the way the homing attack is going to work in this hypothetical Sonic game is going to be MegaLego. I don't know if you've ever played Sonic Utopia.
No, I have not.
Okay. Basically, the way the homing attack works in that game is if you homing attack an enemy, your momentum is carried into the homing attack. Basically, if you're moving forward and you homing attack, like, straight on, if you jump and then press the jump button again to, like, crash into the enemy, you don't jump, like, you don't go straight up to set them out. Once you hit the enemy, you bounce off of it and keep moving forward. I want to do that with the homing attack. I want to make sure that you can homing attack an enemy, say, like, from straight ahead, and then, like, bounce off of it. And that way you can quickly homing attack in rapid succession without having to wait for, like, a cooldown period, like an animation or something like that. Plus, I could make, like, obstacles where, like, say, you homing attack an enemy, and then you, like, can, because you bounce, And of course, bouncing and jumping on enemies are still going to work. You'll homing attack one enemy, and then keep jumping and bouncing on them in rapid succession. And because, again, this game is momentum-based, say that you homing attack one enemy from, like, higher up on the stage, and then you fall down. Since you have a roll button, you'll instantly be able to curl back up into a ball. Or, I don't want to have Sonic uncurl from the homing attack, so what I'm going to do is, basically make it so that as soon as Sonic is out of a homing attack again, he's in a curled ball form where he bounces off. So again, say you're at the top of the stage, homing attack an enemy, and you see an enemy at the bottom of the stage and you try to aim for it, what you could do is immediately after homing attack the enemy, since you're still in a ball form and you still bounced off the enemy, meaning you're carrying your forward momentum, you can convert that into vertical momentum, aim for that enemy near the bottom of the stage, and bounce off of it to get ridiculous height. I want to sort of translate the feeling of bouncing off of enemies and item boxes in classic games, and, like, you know, converting it into a 3D space. So that way it's still fun to bounce off of badniks and things like that.
Yeah, and, like, when you mentioned that reminds me, I've watched a few videos of Sonic Utopia, and, like, the homing attack, I thought it was a little weird because it was different from how they used it in than the regular games. But it's like how you said, instead of just jumping up like a little bit or something like that, instead you basically it's like you bounce off and you just keep going the same direction you were going at before. And I think the only thing that you homing attack that would basically point you at a certain direction would be springs. Everything else you bounce off of the same direction you're going.
Yeah. And I want to, like, again, I thought about this a lot. The way springs are going to work is you have to actually, like, jump on springs. You can't, well, okay. Yeah, again, I'm still thinking about this as we talk about it.
Is this going to be like the classic games where you have to, if you walk into the spring, you just walk into it, you don't do anything to it, you have to jump onto it?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about, yeah, because, again, I haven't thought this whole thing through, I'm still thinking of ideas, but, yeah, so the way springs are going to work, think of it, like, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing Generations did. You just walk into a spring and you instantly bounce up. However, again, you're not sprung into a set direction at, like, a set momentum. Your momentum, again, carries into your bounce on the spring, just like the classics. And it's not like you hit a spring, like, vertically, and you're, like, immediately sprung upwards. No, if you hit, like, if you jump on a spring and you keep moving forward, you'll bounce up just as high, but you'll keep moving forward. And the roll button you have is going to be effective, since you're going to be, like, you know, like, uncurled, so that way you can bounce higher, because if you were jumping onto the spring and you still stayed curled, because of the way the physics system would work, there may be a possibility of you not going as high, since, again, you're curled into a ball. So I was thinking about having the roll button instantly curl Sonic up, like, in the air, similar to what, like, Sonic Triple Trouble did, where if you hit a spring, you hit a button to curl, that would be your roll button, essentially. That way, it would work the same way as in Triple Trouble. And more specifically, again, in Sonic Utopia, I'm taking a lot from those games.
Oh. Alright, yeah.
And that's basically all of Sonic's basic moveset. I could add a bit more on, but before we get into things like, actually, yeah, we should talk about this really quickly since it doesn't really need a lot of explanation. The power-ups in the game. I want to have the classic speed shoes, invincibility, of course, but me and MegaLegoLuigi, he came up with the idea of bringing back elemental fields, and yes, I really want that in the game. Like, I think that would be a fantastic addition to have the elemental fields, again, work just as they did in Sonic 3 and Knuckles and in Sonic Mania. I want them to work just like that. Also, so that way the homing attack doesn't get, like, confused with, like, say, because you're going to be doing a lot with the jump button and the roll button and things like that. How about we have a control setup where, say, the R1 button, like your shoulder buttons, essentially, are used to activate those like specific like features of the elemental fields. Like, say you have a fire shield. If you jump and press the trigger button, that's when you dash. So that way you're still open to like jump, homing attack, and then dash instead of dashing into an enemy and possibly being under a bottomless pit that could screw the player over.
Yeah, and so yeah, you can do the fire dash, the double jump, or, well, I mean, Sonic kind of has. It's kind of weird because the fire shield kind of has the homing, like the homing dash that modern Sonic hasn't unleashed in Generations when he's not targeting something with a homing attack, and then the Thunder Shield basically is Sonic's double jumping colors Lost World Forces. So it's like kind of weird with that whole thing. And then Lost World brought back the bounce, like the bounce bracelet from Adventure 2, and that's very similar to how the Bubble Shield works. So yeah, it's kind of confusing. But one quick thing that I want to mention, and actually, maybe I should wait until later because it's going to talk about the Chaos Emeralds, and yes, the Chaos Emeralds in Super Sonic are going to be here, but I think I'll wait for. I have an idea of connecting the Chaos Emeralds and the power-ups later, but I'll address that later when we actually get into the specifics of the Chaos Emeralds and the special stages.
Okay. So yeah, essentially the reason why I wanted to do that is have, like, because again, we have so much assigned to the face buttons that having, like, the, you know, plus we're also going to have the quick step, which instead of being, like, activated by, like, the shoulder buttons, would be activated by the triggers. How would you activate the drift? Well, the drift, I was thinking, well, that would be something like, because again, this control system can be somewhat complicated. I want to have the drift and the quick step at once, but, you know, like, the elemental fields, I want them to be different in a way. Again, I haven't thought this whole thing through. I could change things on a dime, because, again, this is hypothetical. So, yeah, thinking about it, because, again, completely unprofessional, this is unscripted, we didn't plan this at all. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna remove the drift, because now that I'm thinking about it, that control setup, yeah, like, that just wouldn't work. So, what I'm thinking is have the, yeah, I want to have the quick step buttons be activated by the shoulder buttons like in the modern games, and then replace the shield action with the triggers, because that way it won't confuse anything. I want to make sure this control setup is as, like, fluid and responsive as possible and won't, like, mix up anything, because I hate things like in SA2, again, somersault instead of light speed dash, and that can screw the player over. And since, like, Sonic can so easily turn, the drift would somewhat be kind of redundant now that I think about it. So, we're axing the drift. Whatever, we could do it. The game hasn't started development yet, or that it ever will to begin with.
Yeah, we're just, like, we're voice actors and story, we're part of the writing team and voice acting. We're not programmers or anything like that, but actually, real quick, one thing that I wanted to say, so the action button for Sonic is like similar to how when Tails is in midair and he presses the action button, that's his flight, and for Knuckles, when he's in midair, that's his glide.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sonic doesn't. Does Sonic have anything like that for when he's in midair and he presses the action button?
See, I was thinking actually about bringing the Insta Shield back.
Oh, wait. This can still work. This can still work. Okay.
Yeah, because it's not dedicated to the jump button.
Okay, this could still work with the idea that I had. What if the action button could still be activated, would activate the shield abilities? Because Because in Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and still in Sonic Mania and in Mania Plus, no one but Sonic can use the special abilities, special actions of the elemental shields. I mean, yeah, if you're as Tails, Knuckles, Mighty, or Ray, you can still breathe underwater with the bubble shield, or you're still immune to fire or lava with the fire shield, or you're still immune to electricity, and you're still a magnet with the thunder shield. However, you can't do the double jump, you can't do the fire boost, and you can't do the dive, the bounce thing. And so in Sonic 3, what it was is that when Sonic is just normal, whether it's like he doesn't have any power-ups or he has the regular shield, that allows him to do the insta-shield, or insta-attack, whatever you want to call it, ability. And then when he gets an elemental shield, that gets replaced with the fire boost, the double jump, and the bubble bounce. And so this could be carried on to this game, and then the shoulder and trigger buttons could have the quick step and the drift.
Well, not the drift. I want the trigger buttons to be the elemental shields, button, because the drift, now that I think about it, would be kind of pointless, considering you'd be able to turn so smoothly.
Yeah, but like, you're right. And I mean, the drift was pretty fun to use in Generations, but I guess you do have a point with how it probably would be redundant. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe it could be that I don't know. Like Cryo said, this is unscripted. We're doing this as we go. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can think about that another time. But yeah, I think you actually might have a point with how the drift might be a little bit redundant. So yeah.
Yeah, but like what I was thinking here with the Insta Shield, because the action button in the air would be Sonic's Insta Shield, and maybe extend the reach of it, because in a 3D space things are obviously going to be a bit more complicated. But what I was thinking would be to have, like, say, because you may be thinking, well, what if I'm flying in the air as Tails, and then press the shield button? Would I just, like, dash and drop straight down without being able to fly again? I wanted to fix that issue, where, if you just jump as Tails or Knuckles, and then you press the dash button, you're gonna dash just like Sonic. Sonic and Tails still get these shield abilities, but the thing is, say you are gliding as Knuckles, and you use the fire shield to dash straight forward, it's going to be slightly modified, where as long as you keep gliding, and you press the dash button, Knuckles will get an instant burst of speed, but still keep gliding, as long as you, like, keep holding down the boost button to glide in the air. Like, yeah, and the same would work for Tails. As long as you're still pressing down the boost button, if you press the, like, trigger button while boosting, you'll dash forward, but you'll still keep flying. That way you don't need to worry about dropping straight down. However, if you just normally jump just like Sonic, you'll just dash forward. It's going to be slightly modified just for those types of scenarios.
Okay, yeah.
And, with the, bubble shield again, if you were to, like, drop straight down, as Tails or Knuckles while boosting, I'm going to do something, like, different where, if you're gliding as Tails or Knuckles, I'm going to make it so that you have to press that trigger button twice, like, double tap it, in order to drop down. Because, like, by any possibility, like, if you're just gliding and you accidentally press the shield button, you're going to drop straight down like a rock, and I don't want that issue to, like, occur, where, like, in order to activate the, well, actually, no, I wouldn't have to worry about that, because, like, again, it's assigned to a completely different button. I'm so used to the way modern Sonic controls that it's just like, but, yeah, like, yeah, so nothing changes there. I was thinking about changing something that didn't need to be changed. See, we're better than Sonic Team. That's a complete fabrication, but, or maybe it's not. I have no idea. But, yeah, and the same goes for, like, the double jump. where, again, if you just regularly jump as Tails and Knuckles, you'll just double jump like Sonic. And yet, if you're flying, you'll just get an extra, like, bounce in height, but still keep flying and gliding. Basic stuff.
What it could be is that the shields could be, like, could actually help with certain characters' abilities. Like the Thunder Shield, since it gives the double jump, it could actually give a boost in Tails' flight. And then with Knuckles, the Fire Dash from the Fire Shield would give a boost to his horizontal boost to his glide. You can use the elemental shields to your advantage and help them with with each different character. So it's not just Sonic benefiting, but also the other characters that can benefit them and combine them with their abilities as well.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, did we go through all of the controls? We went through the boost, we went through everything. Do you want to add anything?
So we'll have like the classic whole four button, then the analog, and then the 4 trigger buttons. So we got the jump, we got the action button. The jump is still gonna be homing attack, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe. Okay, since we have 2 main actions, that would actually leave 2 other buttons open. Like, okay, say I'm using the Switch controller, and like say the B button is for jump, and the Y button is for action. So for Sonic it'd be his roll.
Oh no, that's not the action button. The way this is going to work. Wait, did you go off of a Nintendo controller or a Xbox controller? Sorry, you cut out at that moment.
Nintendo.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking about something completely different. Okay, carry on.
Okay, so so like I said before, B button is for jump, and then the Y button would be like action. So like for Sonic it'd be his roll, Tails would be his flight, and Knuckles would be his glide. And then we'd have like the X and the A buttons still open, or like if you're using an Xbox controller, we'd have the Y and B buttons available when the X and A are taken. So.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but the way the control is going to work, using again, a PlayStation controller as a basis, X would be jump, your square button would be your action button, and then the circle button would be your roll. The triangle button, here's the one thing we didn't cover, there is going to be 5 ways of playing this game. Say you select like a save file or whatever, if there are multiple saves. I'm going to implement multiple saves because there's no reason why there shouldn't be in a Sonic game in the year 2018. But, so you're going to select your save file. There's obviously going to be Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles as playable characters. And there's also going to be the Sonic and Tails combo. Getting into the story in a little bit, since the story is going to involve Sonic, well actually we already covered the story, what am I thinking? The story is going to have Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles going on this journey all at once. So what we thought of was have a 5th playable character option where you play as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all in the same game. However, it's not like Sonic Heroes where they're all attached to each other. And it's not even like Mania Plus where there are monitors to swap between the two. What I was thinking is have the single button, which would be PlayStation would be triangle, Xbox would be Y, and Nintendo, that would be Y as well, now that I think about it. Or no, it would be X.
I completely forgot that we were adding the Insta-Shield, so I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when it was like, alright, so Sonic has the roll. Wait, no, he has the Insta-Shield. What am I talking about? And that's the action button is their mid-air abilities. For Sonic, it's the Insta-Shield. For Tails, it's his flight. And Knuckles is the glide. Real quick thing about Sonic and Knuckles. Does the Insta-Shield deplete some of the boost gauge, and also is Knuckles going to be able to climb?
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't want Knuckles to climb. The reason being is because that would make Tails' like, you know, flight ability practically irrelevant. I want Tails to have like his own path.
Unless we made something that it'd be like, like let's just say like there's one area that Knuckles is climbing onto, but then there's like an area right on top of him, but it's like there's no way he could jump up and then glide to there. It could just be some area that it's like too far out to get there, that you couldn't just glide and then keep climbing.
Yeah. Plus, climbing wouldn't use boost energy. That would be a little bit ridiculous since this game is going to be focused on exploring. I only want the glide to be focused on boost. Plus, the glide is going to work slightly differently, where as long as you like keep holding like or no, never mind. I don't want to change it. I was thinking about just making it that Knuckles would just go straight forward without like, you know, dropping in height, but no. I don't want to do that. That would seem kind of bad if you were in the middle of the air and then just like went under a pit. No, I don't want to do that. But yeah. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Having like obstacles that Knuckles like, because it's all about level design. So yeah, like even at the top of the level, like you wouldn't be able to reach like those Tails specific areas. Like I'm thinking basically like Tails areas would be at the very, very top of the stage that no other character can reach. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Carry on? Or was that your idea?
No, that was, no, I think, I got everything else, but it's like, with the whole character switch, it would kind of be like Encore mode, but it's not like how what they did in Mania Plus is that, oh, you have two characters that are active, and then you can swap, between only the two characters active, and it's like, and if one of them dies, then you have to like either get a panel, get like a box that gives you access to them, or go through those like pinball bonus stages. No, you have all three accessed, and then it's like you say you're playing as Sonic, and you'd be like, oh, there's a Knuckles only area or something like that. Then you press the switch button. That would change it to Tails. You press it again, then you bring on to Knuckles, and then if you want to go back to Sonic, then you press it again, and you'll be back to Sonic, and it's basically like a little three-way loop from Sonic to Tails, Knuckles to back to Sonic. So it's not restricted to two characters. You have access to all three at any point you want. It's kind of like Encore mode, but it's still changed up quite a bit.
Yeah. Plus, you'll be able to switch, like, say, in midair. Like, it's not like in Mania Plus where you need to, like, wait for your, like, character to be on the ground or something. Like, say you're just flying through the air. If you want to just, like, oh, I want to get, like, a super amount of, like, distance and height with, like, Tails or Knuckles, as long as, like, there are no restrictions. You can just instantly press the switch button literally anywhere at any time, and you'll instantly switch between that character. There are no restrictions on it.
So could it be something like you switch to Tails, you get to a high area, and then you start flying, and then you swap to Knuckles, then you start gliding, gain some speed, and then you switch to Sonic, and then you're falling down at a diagonal direction and you still have that speed and that height, and then when you land, you just keep and when you land, you roll, and then you just keep all of that speed and just keep on going.
Yeah. Now, I think now that we've done all that, I think we've covered everything that has to do with gameplay. Because, yeah, we've spent like an hour, like actually like more than an hour. We spent more than an hour talking about like just the gameplay. But then again, the gameplay is the most important part of the game next to level design. Speaking of which, segue level design. I don't have any specifics besides the obvious Tails and Knuckles only pathways that we thought of, and having like obstacles to block off Knuckles from reaching Tails only areas. But yeah, but we were basically thinking we want the game to still be linear. We don't want like open world, you know, Green Hill Paradise or again Sonic Utopia. As much as we took from those games, we don't want the level design to be like that. What we were thinking was we brought up two very specific levels in Sonic Generations. Since this game is technically going to be a boost game, we were thinking about having, since Sonic's going to be moving fast, obviously, and we still want to keep platforming, and only character-only pathways, all that stuff that we spent now we're talking about. What we were thinking is take areas like the park section in City Escape. Like, of course, we don't know this now, but while the viewers at home are watching our video, I will be displaying these, like, sections of the levels as you watch the video on screen right now. But, yeah, the park section in City Escape. What I'm talking about is there's this one moment around halfway through City Escape Act 2 in Sonic Generations where after you get out of, like, the first, like, area, after the snowboarding section, and after you go through this one area that's, like, ripped from Adventure 2, you go into this park area, and, like, you have there are 3 multiple, like, paths you can take right off the bat. You can go through the rainbow rings at the top before the section to reach, like, this rainbow ramp so you can do tricks. You can, like, go off to the left slightly and go through another trick ring, or you can just drop down right there and go through, like, a path with enemies, like, right there at the bottom. Which, I want to do that, but expand upon it. Basically, take that park section with all its platforming and top and bottom routes, all that, basically just make that, a whole level. Like, make a giant open area like that be a whole level, and of course make them bigger and longer, obviously, and have Tails, Knuckles, and Sonic only pathways. That's how things are going to work essentially.
Yeah, and oh yeah, and like another example is like, so one thing that I really like about Generations is that the 3D sections of that game are really cool, and the City Escape that one park area that Cryo just mentioned is one great example on 3D sections in a Sonic game done right. Another example is the beginning of Chemical Plant, when you're running on that yellow pathway thing that, like, I'm pretty sure the inside is just like probably like transporting chemicals or something like that. Right at the beginning, there are 2 others that are like spiraling, or like, I don't know, that are waving right next to you. It is possible to actually jump on those, and then like you can take 2 other different pathways, and one of them actually like takes out like I think like almost 10 seconds of the beginning of the level, and speedrunners use that to their advantage and to like skip a part of the level. When I first saw that being shown off in like a Sonic discussion video, actually it might have been Gamer Guide 7 Aces video. I think it was about Team Sonic Racing, but it was like they were showing that, and I'm like, wait, you can do that? And it's like,
yeah, like, oh my god, my eyes have been opened.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's about multiple pathways and creative ways that you can go out of your way to reach those pathways. It's not like you have to go so much out of your way that it's like, is this even worth it? No, it's like, oh, you can just like hop off the path that you're on, and then just like make sure that you land on the area that you need to be on specifically, and then you can just keep on boosting, and then it'll lead you to like a couple of springs, and then another area that has an annoying lightspeed dash area, and it's like the lightspeed dash has always been weird and finicky, but yeah, that still is able to like cut off a bunch of your time, for speedrunners are able to use that to their advantage, and I just find that really cool. And yeah, that's basically the kind of level design that we're using. Sorry, that's the kind of level design we're using. We're basically having something that you can easily go on different pathways. We can have different pathways as just one character, and then there's also going to be the Sonic exclusive areas that are just like, you're going to need the spin dash. There's going to be the Tails exclusive areas where you're going to need to where you have to fly, and then there's the Knuckles exclusive areas where you have to glide and climb.
Yeah, And
real quick, something that I wanted to point out. So technically, with the action button, Sonic has two abilities. He has the spin dash, and he has the insta shield. And I don't think.
Oh no, every character has a spin dash.
Okay, so everyone has the spin dash. So then, well then, what exclusive areas would Sonic be able to reach?
Every character would have the spin dash, but I wanted to make it like a sort of thing where Sonic would have like what was it? Basically the insta shield. I want there to be areas like, say, only Sonic can reach due to his insta shield. Because, like, the insta-seal, the insta-shield is, like, it's such a great concept. Like, I've seen people use the insta-shield to, like, jump on spikes and stuff like that. See, what I want to do is have areas, like, say there's, like, a circle of spikes that has, like, a very, very small opening. If Tails or Knuckles attempt to fit through that area, they're going to get hurt. And, like, I don't want there to be, like, a sort of thing where it's like, oh, you can just use invincibility frames to, like, go through it. I want to make sure that, like, it's difficult enough. Like, I want it to be a thing where you can't just, like, walk straight through. If you know what I mean. Like, I don't have any specifics, but you probably have, like, a level set piece where it's like, there's a wall of spikes. But then, like, say, since you'd probably be able to, like, activate the insta-shield, like, I want to change it slightly so that the insta-shield, you can activate it, like, say, it's going to be different from the classics. For example, you use the insta-shield, but then you start falling. If you still have boost energy, since that's going to use the boost, you can press it again in the air, just slightly, and you'll use the insta-shield again. You won't be able to spam it, there's a little bit of a cooldown period, but, like, you know, you'll have to, you know, just use it effectively. Like, you can't just spam it, because if you keep spamming it, then that's basically invincibility. Granted, it's limited, but I don't want the insta-shield to be, like, spammed, obviously. But yeah, there's going to be a bit of a cooldown period. Like, I want it to be a type of thing where you can't just spam the insta-shield. You need to use the insta-shield, and then there's going to be like 2 or 3 seconds of cooldown, and then you can use it again. So I want to have an area like, for example, again, Sonic needs to, like, say, jump through a tiny area with spikes. That's sure, Tails and Knuckles can walk through with invisibility frames, but once you go through that area, you'll notice that, like, spikes are, like, all over the wall, and even at the bottom of the entrance, so no matter what you do as Tails or Knuckles, you're going to, like, fall. You need to, like, jump off of, like, spikes, essentially, constantly, and the only way Sonic can do that is if he keeps using the insta-shield at specific moments. Say, you use the insta-shield on the ground, like, to walk across a complete trail of spikes. You would use the insta-shield, jump, and, like, you need to jump immediately, and then as soon as you hit the ground, use the insta-shield again. Stuff like that, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, what I was thinking is that keep, similar to what the adventure games did, have Sonic's move be the spin dash, and that he could basically break through certain areas, like he could also go through certain small spaces that are exclusive to that are more exclusive to the spin dash, and then maybe you could still have the insta-shield areas with all the spikes, and I was getting Mighty vibes when you're talking about, oh yeah, and Sonic is able to be immune from spikes, and like kind of how Mighty is able to jump on spikes in Mania Plus. But what I had an idea of is that Tails and Knuckles could use their attacks from Adventure when they're not in midair. So Tails could use the Tails swipe, and Knuckles could punch. So while Sonic gets the spin dash, Tails gets the tail swipe, and Knuckles gets the punch. And then when in the air, Sonic gets the spin dash, the insta shield. Tails gets the Tails can fly, and Knuckles can glide. So I guess everyone has two abilities, one in on the ground and one in midair, and also the Knuckles punch could actually be how Knuckles gets to exclusive areas, because there might be certain areas that Sonic's Spin Dash and Tails' Tail Swipe can't break through, but Knuckles is strong enough that he can bust through those areas. Those could be like places that have like, maybe it could be something like something that Sonic can break through would have cracks, and something that Knuckles can break through only has like tiny cracks, or if it's like a metal somewhere that is like a metal facility or something like that, has only dents. So it's not like it already has enough wear and tear that Sonic can just spin dash right through, but Knuckles is strong enough that he can still break through those.
You know, yeah, I really like that idea. Yeah, we could do that. Have Sonic have the instant... Yeah, let's change that. Again, this game isn't in development. Hopefully, maybe one day we can make this. But, I'm thinking, like, yeah, that's a great idea. Because I was thinking, oh, Tails' Tail Swipe could be a little, like, you know, say, like, you know, you'd be stopping to use it, but it doesn't have to be, like, advanced. I was thinking, like, I instantly thought of, like, Tails' little, like, necklace thing that he gets in, like, his ribbon badge thing from Adventure 1 that allows him to keep constantly spinning while moving.
Yeah, he can just, keep going and just, like, spin around and around and around and around and around. I always loved doing that, so yeah, that could be something like that.
Yeah, that could be his tail spin, and then Sonic would have the spin dash to reach, like, areas like, say, a treadmill or something, because I was thinking about stuff like that, like maybe an area where you have to keep moving constantly in order to, like, say, open a passage or something. It doesn't all have to be the same, but yeah, I get what you mean. And then, we could still keep, like, the insta-shield, like, moments, maybe. Although, they might be redundant, but, you know, maybe save it for, like, the earlier... Like, maybe say something like, Sonic in, like, earlier levels and more, like, you know, organic areas, you would have, like, spike trap areas, and then in, like, the more, like, industrial levels, you would have, like, those treadmill-type things. Stuff like that.
Or maybe have the insta-shield areas be for more experienced players, because, like, for casual players, you can easily, like, charge up and spin dash and either, like, charge up a treadmill or just break through certain walls that the spin dash can break. Because, actually, real quick, connecting to how, like, there can be two different types of breakable walls, Mania does have that, where there are certain things that a character's spin dash can break, and then there are others that Knuckles can break, but no one else can. And those lead to the Knuckles exclusive areas. And so, basically, the Insta-Shield involves specific button timing. And I know you're gonna improve the reach and the range of the Insta-Shield, but it should still probably be more for more experienced players of the game. That way it's be like, oh, if I press it at the right time, then I can hit these spikes without taking damage and I can reach a secret area.
Yeah, what I was thinking is, like, how could we make it so that Sonic can break through walls that Knuckles can't? And I was thinking, have, like, say, a Sonic-only area, like, be... Like, Knuckles can still break through the wall, but say that breakable wall would lead into one of those Sonic-only Insta-Shield areas.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Now that actually would work, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking, how could we make it so that Knuckles' punch would not, like, slow him down? I thought of an easy solution. If you just, whether you're standing still or while you keep moving, if you press the punch button, Knuckles quickly, like, puts his fist out and, like, punches, like, while running.
Yeah, he could do, like, a little punch leap, and it's some sort of, like, a leap or a hop, where he's just, like, punching, and anything that he hits, whether it's a wall or an enemy, he breaks. But it's like, and he can also, like, do the same thing while on the move, and it's basically he's not standing still, he's leaping while he's running, so he'd still have momentum, and it's like, it's not much of a leap that it's like a jump. It's just like he's like doing a, like,
it's purely just an animation. It's not like, you know, actually, like, in like interacting with, like, your momentum or anything. It's just an animation.
It's not like how one example is the Super Mario Odyssey gives you the ability to roll, and if you, like, use the motion controls and shake it while rolling, that not only is that the fastest, but it gives Mario a little hop, and some people have used that to hop over certain like very thin obstacles without actually jumping. but instead this is just like some kind of animation that's just having, it's just giving a reason why Knuckles is still moving and also punching.
Yeah, I like that. And the last thing about level design that we can think of, I thought of having red rings in the game. And you could keep them the exact same as, like, Sonic Generations and Colors. And I don't want there to be any red rings that only one character can collect. Like, because then it's like, oh, this is my Sonic file, guess I'm not getting all the red rings here. No, I don't want that. I want, like, every character to be able to collect red rings. But, like, say, Tails and Knuckles only areas, like, would lead to completely different pathways. That way, they still get mileage out of picking a different character. But, yeah. So, red rings are in the game, where they work the same way, they're just in hidden locations. MegaLego, did you want to go into detail about what those, red rings unlock?
Okay. So, this is a little something that, that Cryo came up with that I think is really cool. So, the red rings in this game can unlock several different things. It could be kind of like Generations, where it unlocks concept art, but instead of like Generations, it just that unlocked concept art for Generations itself. It could unlock concept art for other Sonic games as well. But since this is a fan game, it could probably be other fan games that we've been associated with, because Cryo and I are actually part of a Tails Miles Power fan game, so who knows, we could put some concept art for that game in there. But also, it could be similar to, it can also unlock certain music tracks that can be played in stages, just like how Generations had, except instead of having like how Generations was an anniversary title, so it brings in a whole bunch of different songs from the original Green Hill Zone all the way down to Tropical Resort, and music. Yeah, I think it was like, I think Sonic 4 Episode 1 and Sonic Colors were the two games that came out right before Generation. So yeah, basically, since that's an anniversary game, it has a reason to have all those, all of that music. But instead, it would have music that like fits the level theme. So let's say we're gonna have like the whole green natural area, like your Green Hill Zone, your Emerald Hill Zone, your Angel Island Zone, your Windy Hill Zone, and basically whatever we're gonna have for this game, as like it's probably gonna be like one of the first zone, and if you collect certain red rings for that stage, you unlock like some music to play that fits that level theme. You can fit certain basically music that fits that theme. So like I said before, Green Hill Zone, Emerald Hill, Palm Tree Panic, stages like that have like that bright, vibrant green and orange natural vibe that those stages have, and they have in common. And so basically this will be like that. And like if you're in an industrial factory area, and then you get all the red rings for that, you get like the Death Egg zone, you get Final Egg zone from Sonic Adventure, you get like, I don't know, some Space Colony Arc stages from SA2 or Shadow the Hedgehog playing in that stage. And the last one, the last unlockable thing that you can get from the red rings is character skins. And so kind of similar to Super Smash Bros. Games, and basically if you collect a certain amount of red rings, I don't think we've gone into detail on if it's just going to be 5 rings for a stage or something like that, but basically currently for each character, we're kind of basing off with the whole speed, power, and fly type mentality from Heroes. So with Sonic, he can get different skins of 3 characters. currently we have in mind possibly characters like Shadow, Metal Sonic, and maybe Blaze. And for Tails, it could be something like Rouge, Cream, yeah,
Cream, Rouge,
and Silver. Yeah, Cream, Rouge, and Silver. And then for Knuckles, it could have maybe, I don't know, maybe like I know that Cryo said to call Metal Knuckles from Sonic R, even though we're just gonna call him Iron Knuckles because seriously that's missed opportunity. It fits Iron Knuckles, like the actual weapon, an Iron Knuckle. And then I think the third character was it Omega or Chaos or something like that? I don't know.
Oh no, we thought it was Chaos and Call.
Okay, so I mean, honestly, I mean, yeah. Honestly, if that were me, I'd go with Vector and Omega or something like that.
I'm just trying to think, like, could we imagine, like, Vector gliding through the air?
Well, he does have that like purple bubble thing in Heroes, so I don't know, maybe. But
again, subject to change. I think having Vector and Omega though would be a much.
Yeah, like we could actually have something. What we could do is have a kind of like a we could have like 3 different teams for them. We could have Team Dark, so we'd have Shadow as a Sonic skin, Rouge as a Tails skin, and Omega as a Knuckles skin, and then another team could be probably Team Metal, so then we'd have Metal Sonic, might replace Cream with the Tails doll or something like that, or I don't know, take Metal Tails from RG Comics or something like that. The closest canon Metal Tails we have is the Tails doll, so we're just gonna go with that. And then we have Iron Knuckles for Knuckles. And then for the last one would have to be something a little weird, or we'd have to think about, because we'd have Blaze for Sonic, Silver for Tails, and then we don't have any power type characters affiliated with Silver and Blaze for that. So I don't know. Maybe we'd have to grasp for something like that. I don't know.
But yeah, but it's like and plus you can make these, like, these are all custom. We don't have like preset like teams for you to pick from. It's like if you just pick, like, you can change this like in the options menu at any time, like just like, you know, pick, oh, I want, now that I unlocked like a Shadow skin for Sonic, I'm gonna have Sonic be like a Shadow in my Sonic playthrough. But you can even change that in like the team thing, where it's like if you pick the option to have Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all be able to be played at once and switching between them, you could have like Sonic be Shadow, and then have like Tails be like Cream or something, and then have like Knuckles be Metal Knuckles. Like, you go crazy with it. Like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, and I was just bringing up teams just for like some kind of theme connection. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you have to play as Team Sonic, oh, you gotta play as Team Dark. No, you can just choose whichever characters you want. Like, once you collect enough rings to unlock your first character skin, it's like, oh, you've unlocked a character skin, so basically when you choose your save file, it basically, once you click on it, it then gives you the option to like pick which Sonic skin you want. So it's like, you want to stay as Sonic, you want to play as Metal Sonic, Blaze, or Shadow, or something like that, and then you just pick whichever one you want, and then press start, and then you just keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are all like the red ring play, because like I'm combining like yeah, what we're doing here is we're combining like classic and modern Sonic. So if you've been able to tell, you probably have, like, we're including a lot of like classic Sonic ideologies in its level design, but we're also including like a lot of extra things for modern fans as well. And plus the gameplay itself is very modern focused. It's very speed based, very action focused, and like, you know, you have multiple playable characters from the modern series, so even the people that love multiple playable characters and even different gameplay styles, with like Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic being the presets for multiple different gameplay styles, it's still different, but they're still similar, so that way you're not appeasing, like, you're not upsetting the people that don't like to like play as like Big the Cat or something. They still have multiple playable characters, but they all still play like Sonic. And even for the people that just want to play as other multiple playable characters, they have that option if they go after the red rings and they want to play as these characters.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And like,
yeah, now that,
yeah, I don't know if we'd bring in cast from the classic games like Team Hooligan or Mighty and Ray. I don't know. Like, we'd have to think about that. Like,
Oh, that would work. Having like, plus you could go crazy with it, like have SBO as a Sonic skin, and then you could have like Ray be a Tails skin and Mighty be a Knuckles skin. There are so many ways you could go with it, but then again, it would still have to be limited. Like, there are only so many levels and so many red rings you could like have in the game. But still, like, it's something to think about.
we might want to change up that. So I know that I think Sonic Forces introduced like a different kind of collectible. So maybe what it could be is like I don't know if it was Sonic Forces or Sonic Lost World, but we could have those collectibles. Like if you take them all in one level, then you unlock a character skin or something like that, and then the red rings would be for music and concept art.
yeah.
Or like just something like that. Like, yeah, we'll have to think about it.
You gotta think about it, of course, but yeah. Now that we've talked about, we talked about all of the gameplay, like of the basic gameplay, multiple playable characters, and like pretty much all of the level design that we can think of, and power-ups and stuff like that. MegaLego, you said you wanted to talk about special stages.
Okay, special stages. Whew, okay, so special stages are like, they're gonna be, they're like, so we've been, once again, we're gonna be pulling a lot of things from the classic era and the classic games, and we're gonna have the Chaos Emeralds be treated in the same vein. Similar way. Basically, the Chaos Emeralds are going to be treated just like in Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Knuckles, where you have to go around and you collect them before the end of the game. And if you don't, well, what's going to end up happening is that similar to like all the classic games, similar to Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic Mania, if you don't collect all of the Chaos Emeralds, then you go to the last area, you beat the quote-unquote final boss, and then you just finish the game. And then after the credits play, it says try again or something like that with all the Chaos Emeralds you still need to get. And then you go but if you do get all the Chaos Emeralds, then you get one last supersonic boss fight, or you know, Super Tails and Super Knuckles.
Yeah, we're not blocking off like the final boss to just Sonic. We want to make sure that Tails and Knuckles still get the full experience.
Exactly, especially since it's gonna be that. Especially since one of the 5 playable options is gonna be a team battle, a team playthrough where you play a Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles at the same time. Just one person at a time. You just switch between whoever you want, and maybe that could also be applied into the final boss, where it's like you're playing as Super Sonic, then you can switch as Super Tails or something like that. It's just that if you want it, because we haven't thought of if there should be that much of a difference between Super Sonic, Super Tails, and Super Knuckles yet. And so I've been talking about like the final boss and Super Sonic and all of that a lot. Now let's talk about how to get to Chaos Emeralds. So we're gonna be pulling a page off of the books from Sonic 1, Sonic CD, and Sonic 4. With those games, they had it so that you had to collect rings, you had to collect 50 rings, and then complete the stage. And then, obviously, you'd have to jump into the red ring before Sonic walks off stage, and then if you miss, and Sonic walks off the stage like an idiot, you're just gonna rage. But yeah, we're gonna do that, yet change it up a bit. So we're gonna have the whole thing of collecting 50 rings during the level, yes, but also it's gonna be a lot more challenging. We're gonna have a time limit for the special stage Super Ring to appear at the end of the stage, because it's like so basically you get enough rings, and then you have to also get to the end of the stage as soon as possible. Then when you get to the end of the stage, you'll be able to access the Super Ring and go to the special stage. So it's going to be challenging, but basically these, like, the special stages are meant to be challenging. So yeah, it's like, let's say for the casual player, one of the levels takes 3 minutes to complete. So maybe the time limit would be like, I don't know, 1:30 or something like that. And then you'd have to, like, you would then have to start, like, you'd have to, it'd be trial and error. You'd have to, like, okay, so I gotta think of which pathway would give me the, would have the fastest route to take in order to get to the end of the stage as soon as possible. But not just so you can just beat the stage immediately. You also have to get a bunch of rings, because as Cryo said, rings aren't as plentiful as obviously like Sonic Forces, when you can get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rings just by playing one level. But and also still, it's just that you have to explore a little bit in order to get enough rings and then reach the end of the stage. It's not like the classic Sonic games have been recently with Sonic Mania and Sonic Mania Plus, where it's like you just go around exploring and then you find a super ring anywhere. It doesn't matter how many rings you have, you just find it and it's like, okay, there we go, special stage. No, this is going to take the other alternative, and then that's how you get the special stages. And so then when you get to the special stages are also going to be pretty difficult. And Cryo, would you like to explain the specifics about said special stages?
Yes, I would. Now, the special stages are going to be taking a page out of Sonic 2. And I know people are upset about the half pipe, but we found a way to make it interesting. You see, for anyone who remembers those in Sonic Colors, in Starlight Carnival, there were automated sequences where you were running straight forward and avoiding like those flying egg flyer things that shot lasers, and you quick step out of the way in those sections. You were running on a platform that was slowly disappearing behind you. However, of course, you never had to worry about it since it's automated. The level disappears along with you. You never have to worry about falling off the stage. But we wanted to take that concept to another extreme, where imagine that you're running on this platform, like the half pipe, and the stage is slowly disappearing behind you. And unlike in Sonic Colors and those automated sequences, you can fall off. It is possible to fall off the stage and miss the Chaos Emerald. Now, the Chaos Emerald itself is, you don't need to chase after it. It's all based off of a time limit. Not in the traditional sense where you need to get the Chaos Emerald in X amount of time, otherwise you won't get it. It's not like that. It's more like there's a time limit counting down to how long you need to last in the stage to get the Chaos Emerald. And you need to constantly keep moving so that way the track doesn't disappear behind you. But there's a catch. For you see, the Chaos Emerald is, again, it's based off a time limit. Say, like, for the first special stage, it takes, like, 1 minute and 15 seconds before, like, the Chaos Emerald, you know, before you can get the Chaos Emerald, before you're at the end of the track. And, something that's going to happen to make it a bit more challenging is every 15 seconds or so, for example, the track is going to start speeding up in how fast it disappears behind you. The track is going to start disappearing more and more quickly. Think of the Blue Sphere special stages, how after a certain amount of time, Sonic goes faster. Well, in this case, Sonic isn't going to go faster, the track is going to disappear more quickly. And the way you outrun the track itself is by collecting rings and doing the exact same thing you do in the actual stages. You need to enter boost mode in order to get to the end of the track. And it's not like you need to collect a certain amount of rings. Like, the rings only exist just for you to enter boost mode. And of course you would need to avoid like bombs and like different obstacles and stuff like that. Maybe we could even add like pits and stuff like that you need to jump over. And we're adding like tracks, like the track could like turn into a slope that you need to like roll around and make sure that you avoid like obstacles while you're moving fast, because the whole point of it is to enter boost mode and keep moving. And eventually near like say special stage 7, the track is going to like disappear to the point where it's like you need to enter boost mode. Like it's going to reach a certain point in the special stages where if you don't quickly reach boost mode, you're just going to fail within the first like say 15 seconds of the stage, because you need to keep moving. It's difficult, but I figured like, you know, since the special stages need something so that it's difficult to get them, and that you can translate the special stages to the boost formula and still keep true to what the classics had, it's all about trial and error. And like, it's specifically there just for skilled players. That way getting Supersonic feels like more of a reward for skill-based play. And the way these special stages are going to work is, say you get Chaos Emeralds 1, 2, and 3, but say you miss Chaos Emerald 4. I'm taking a page out of Sonic 1's book, and we're going to make it so that, say, again, you get the first 3 Chaos Emeralds and miss the 4th
You
one.
missed the damn 4th Chaos Emerald?
Hmm?
You missed the damn 4th Chaos Emerald?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
The damn 4th Chaos Emerald.
You're going to, the next time you go into a special stage, you'll be in special stage 5. Now, the thing about this is that if you get Chaos Emeralds again 1 to 3, miss Chaos Emerald 4, and then get Chaos Emeralds 5 to 7, the next time you get into a special stage in the game, you'll go back to special stage 4. And again, say you get the first one, miss the second, and then you get the third, but then miss the fourth again, and then you get all the others. Say you get every single Chaos Emerald, you'll loop back to special stage 2, and then if you complete that, then you'll move back on to special stage 4. It's all like loop based. It's the exact same as how Sonic 1 handles it.
Sonic 1 and Sonic CD had that.
Yeah. And just to make sure that just to make sure that like it doesn't get monotonous, because I'm pretty sure like all of us that go after Chaos Emeralds have run into the problem where like, oh, I played through the whole game, but I missed like 1 Chaos Emerald. Now I need to keep like, you know, playing through the entire stage over and over again for that one chance to get the Chaos Emerald, and if I fail, then I need to play through the whole thing all over again. We don't want to make sure that's annoying. So what we're going to do is that, after you beat the main game, not before. You can't just say, oh, I'm about to fail Special Stage 1, let me hit like the retry button. No, you can't do that. And you can keep retrying as long as you get all the other Chaos Emeralds. The next time you get into the Special Stage, you can keep retrying that Special Stage until the end of the game, unless you don't get it. Or you do get it. It's the same way as Classics. But say you're missing like 1 or 2 Chaos Emeralds, whatever amount. As long as you went into the Special Stage at least once during your main playthrough, like your first playthrough, say for example, you went through every Special Stage, but you failed Special Stage 7, but you were still able to enter Special Stage 7 before you failed it. After you beat the main game, you'll be able to retry the Special Stage off of a menu or something. But it's going to be slightly different because it's like, if you, like, say you got every Chaos Emerald but didn't get the chance to get into Special Stage 7 before you beat the main game, you can't access that special, like, you can't retry it. You need to go into the game and at least attempt it once after beating the level. And then after your first attempt, and after you beat the main game, like, say you're selecting it off your completed save file, you need to then go through a stage, get your opportunity to at least attempt Special Stage 7, and then if you fail it, don't worry, just select it from the menu, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and the whole, like, you can choose to, like, do the whole Special Stage thing again. It's similar to how Sonic 4 has it, yet for some reason, it's just that if you want to replay the Special Stages after you've already beaten them, like, who wants to do that? Like, really? They don't allow you to retry the Special Stages if you fail them. It's just all the ones that you completed. And also, one thing about that is that we came up with like a little. Not only would you have to beat the game first once in order to. What am I gonna say? Oh yeah, in order to be able to retry straight from like the menu or the level select or whatever. It would also have like some slight disadvantage. Like the main advantage is that you don't have to replay a whole stage and like try to go out of your way just to get 50 rings and also beat the stage in a certain amount of time. There's also like the when you play play through the level and you speedrun it and get it 50 rings and then go to the special stage, whatever boost gauge you have, the boost meter that you still have will carry on to the special stage, and then that will make going to boost mode a little bit easier. Whether or not it's like if it's almost full, then it's like okay, then it's going to be a lot easier to just immediately get to boost mode. If it's only a little bit, you have a slight advantage. However, if you select the special stage straight from the level select, then you have no boost meter. So you'll just be like, okay, then you have to really concentrate and focus and be able to like get as much speed and momentum and build it up as soon as possible, or you're just gonna instantly fail and you'll have to try again.
Yeah, and I didn't think we elaborated on this earlier, but the way the boost meter works is like, again, collecting rings and then you enter boost mode. I don't think I was specific enough. Like the boost meter constantly like fills up as long as you keep collecting rings. But if you like say, say you like you start to collect rings, but then you stop collecting rings, your boost meter is gonna slowly start depleting until like it's completely like gone. You need to keep collecting rings until it like is like maxed out, and then you enter boost mode as long as you keep your speed up. And if you slow down, then your boost meter is gonna stop, and whatever boost you had left before you stopped is gonna start depleting again. If that makes any sense, again.
Yeah. So, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, can we talk about, is that all about the special stages? Do you want to add anything else?
I think so. Actually, real quick. So, obviously there are going to be some things that you, like, some pitfalls you gotta jump over, or, like, certain things that you can't jump over, you have to, like, roll and duck under, or, and something like that. But, are there going to be, like, any enemies or things, like, you'd have to homing attack on, in order to just avoid them or something like that?
Perhaps, probably for like later special stages and stuff like that. Again, subject to change, but I think, yeah, that would be a pretty cool obstacle. I think that would be cool to add, so probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that we talked about, again, is there anything else we want to add? I think that's it.
No, I think we added everything about the special stages. Oh, actually, real quick, that idea about the elemental shields or just like the power-ups in this game. So, if we're gonna bring back all the classic game power-ups, so it'd be like the rings, the bubble, the fire shield. There's the rings, speed shoes, regular shield, fire shield, thunder shield, bubble shield, and the brief invincibility. I had an idea. This is actually an idea that I had in my Sonic fanfiction. Please don't judge me. It's not cringy, I swear. Please don't look at me differently now. But yeah, I had an idea that the power-ups would be shown in that game, in that story, through the Chaos Emerald. So what I had the idea was that the green Chaos Emerald would give something similar to the ring power-up that gives you 10 rings, and then the red Chaos Emerald would give the fire shield. The blue Chaos Emerald would give the bubble shield, and then like the gray might have been, I think it was either the gray Chaos Emerald or the teal, the cyan or bright blue, whatever you want to call it, Chaos Emerald would be the Thunder Shield, and also be like, and then you could give it to the brief invincibility and the speed shoes and all that. So, and the regular bubble. I just thought that maybe it would give even more of an incentive to get the Chaos Emeralds, because not only does that just give you supersonic when you get them all.
Like if you get the Chaos Emerald, then moving into the next stage, maybe you'll get like an extra like boost, like maybe. Like, not for the whole game, but then after you complete the special stage, moving on to the next level, you'll have like 10 extra rings or something.
Not necessarily. What I had in mind was that once you get a specific Chaos Emerald, that unlocks a specific power-up for the rest of the game that can be just like shown around, just brought around wherever around the whole level, like regular power-ups in the Sonic games would be. It's just that instead of them all being available at the beginning of the game, it would be that that you'd have to basically earn them. So it's like a little. It basically gives you a reward every single time you get one Chaos Emerald. So it's not like all or nothing, where it's like if you get you have to get all 7 Chaos Emeralds to actually get any benefits out of it. What this could be, it's more of an incentive to help you. And like how I mentioned back when we were explaining the differences between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, that maybe the Thunder Shield could give Tails' flight some extra height, and Knuckles' glide, and the Fire Shield could give Knuckles' glide extra like horizontal movement and speed and all that. That could also help maybe with trying to speedrun the game, and like it could basically help you get to a certain area quicker and basically make getting to the special stages easier.
I think maybe. I'm not sure about that idea though, because I kind of like the whole like all or nothing idea. Maybe. Again, subject to change. You could do something similar to that. Or maybe we could add like a temporary buff. Like, you know how in Sonic 3, if you like have the signpost land in like specific spots, you get power-ups. Maybe like if while you're playing the game, if you get a Chaos Emerald, you'll be able to select like one of like you'll be able to get like one random power-up that's selected. Like one random power-up. Like you can't select it, but you'll be able to get like one random power-up buff. Like, and then moving into the next level, you'll get that power-up.
Maybe that could work. It's just that, yeah, this game is trying to be challenging, but I don't want it to be like so challenging that like you're discouraged to actually 100% the game.
Yeah, I can see that. Because like again, the whole buff thing that I was thinking of, because it would still give incentive for wanting to get the Chaos Emeralds, because you'd still be getting like, you know, you'd still be getting power-ups and stuff like that. That would still make things easier, because say you randomly get like speed shoes, you'd be starting the next level instantly with the speed buff. That would make it easier to get the next Chaos Emerald.
Yeah. And also, real quick about the speed shoes, that could be what the speed shoes could be is kind of like what that could be is I'm pretty sure that's like the classic game's closest thing to a to what the boost mode is. So maybe that one could be something like, okay, it's like a temporary boost mode where it's like sorry, where it just gives you a temporary boost in speed, like you're running as fast as you would be in boost mode, but you're technically not in boost mode.
Yeah.
But like the meter,
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, like your meter, you still, basically you're in boost mode. The only difference is your boost gauge is not depleting.
Yeah, yeah. Or like maybe it's the type of thing where it's like you're in boost mode, but your boost doesn't like, you don't gain any boost or deplete anything. Like it's just temporary.
Yeah, or maybe something that like you would get in.
Oh, like for example, if you collect rings but then get, like say your boost meter is half filled from collecting rings, but then again it would still keep depleting if you don't keep collecting rings. Say your boost meter is half filled. If you get like, you know, say speed shoes, you'd enter boost mode instantly, but then your boost meter would stop depleting for a limited amount of time.
Yeah, and what I was thinking, like that's a good idea. And real quick, just what I had in mind was something like, it like your boost meter doesn't deplete. It does increase, however, it's very, very slowly, probably like a third or half as fast, as much as it would be normally. So it would still be like, oh, I'm in boost mode, and it's like it's my, sorry, my boost gauge is not depleting, and it's just like filling up like normal, and there are no ramifications. Then it'll be like, what that'll end up happening is that your boost gauge um, will be what am I trying to say? It would be filled up like instantly. So it's probably like try to limit the amount that increases whenever you get a ring or something like that. So yeah, just so it's not too OP, and maybe make it last for I don't know how long that power up lasts in the Sonic games, but like maybe make it last like 15-20 seconds or something like that. Or I don't know, something like, I don't know. I don't really know how long it lasts. Just
I
like
think it's like 10 seconds, something like that.
maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes would. Minutes? What? 10 or 15 seconds. Sorry. There we go. And that could also be the same for the invincibility power up. So same amount of time that it would last.
Yeah. Yeah, that could work. Like, because, yeah, that's kind of 50-50, because I was thinking, like, oh, if it stands still, that would, and you're already in boost mode for a limited amount of time, that would give the player an opportunity to keep collecting rings while they're in boost mode from the speed cubes, and then that would add to their boost meter, while their boost meter wouldn't be depleting when they're not collecting rings, so it would just make it easier to enter boost mode. But, like, that also works. I'm thinking, like, yeah. Really, it's whatever you want to go with. It's kind of 50-50 with that. But, yeah, now that we talked about the special stages, I think, again, is there anything you want to add? Because I think we've done everything. Like power-ups.
You did. You choose level select, how the special stages work, how you can get the special stages, the power-ups. I think that's it, yeah.
Alright, Super Sonic now, like the super forms. Okay. The super forms are going to be simple, but I think they're going to be, like, well worth it. When you collect 50 rings, of course, jump and press, like, the action button, whatever that might be, or, you could have the, or you could have something special where it's, like, the, like, shield button would be, like, say, for example, the, like, shield action button for, like, the dashes, the bounces, and the double jump, that would be, like, the right shoulder button, but then the super transformation button would be the left trigger. Like, for when, because that way it's separated from everything else. So then you jump and press the left trigger, and then the super form, what it would do would basically just make it, and you wouldn't be in permanent boost mode, but what would be happening would be, after you collect 50 rings and transform, you would have an infinite boost meter that you would be able to access at any time by pressing your action button. Basically, you'd just be playing like any other boost formula game. You'd instantly have access to boost to go anywhere you want and still have like the, 1 second per ring type of depleting thing. And again, rings aren't as plentiful, so that way the super form isn't as overpowered and you won't constantly have it. Like, you'd still be at risk of losing it at some point.
Yeah, and also, real quick, to add on the whole, to add on Supersonic, let's just say that there is an area that, like, requires a lot of concentration and platforming. There, the same button that you use to activate Supersonic should also be to temporarily turn it off. So what I mean is that, while playing Sonic 2 for the first time, I got so infuriated because while playing through Wing Fortress Zone, because that level involves a lot of platforming, and I cannot tell you how many times I accidentally pressed the jump button while in midair, and then went super when I didn't want to, and I would be like freaking out because he's so fast, which means he's so slippery and hard to control on tiny, on very, very tiny ledges and platforms and things like that. So he can easily fall and easily just fall to your death. So what I thought of was that the same button that you use to activate Supersonic could also be to temporarily turn it off. However, you gotta use that wisely, because should you turn off Supersonic, however, that'll risk not being able to turn it on again, because still you need 50 rings. You still need 50 rings in order to turn back into Supersonic. And so you can either do that and risk not being able to turn back into Supersonic once you finish that, whatever platforming section it would be, or you can keep Supersonic and risk slipping off and falling to your death. And so it's kind of like a high risk, high reward situation for both sides. Now, if you have more than 50 rings by the time you reach that area and quickly turn off Supersonic, then you're fine. But if not, then you might have to be careful with that.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, because again, taking pages out of games like Lost World and Forces had a lot of really good ideas that just weren't executed the best. And one of the greatest thing that Lost World introduced was the ability to toggle between regular and supersonic. And I think I'm kind of surprised that wasn't implemented in Forces, but to have that as an option in this hypothetical game, I think would be a great thing to have. Plus, I was thinking there being an option in the menu after you unlock Supersonic to have an option of playing a Supersonic theme, no theme at all, or having a sped up version of the regular music. You have 3 options for what you want to play while you're playing a Supersonic. One of 3 options.
Yeah, so when you mentioned speed up of the regular level music, that reminded me of Sonic 3 Complete, which whenever Sonic goes super, that's what happens. The level theme speeds up. And so yeah, that's actually a good idea. So you can either have a Supersonic theme to play, no music to change at all, and it's just still the regular level theme, or I think that's what Generations did. I don't remember them changing the level theme whenever you turned into Supersonic, and then in Sonic 3 Complete, it just fast forwards the music. So yeah, I guess once you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, when you're on the level select of the save file, you can pause it and go to options, and you can choose similar to how in Sonic Colors you can turn on or off Supersonic once you unlocked it. It would have a Supersonic music thing, and basically it would be okay, what type of music setting do you want?
Yeah. That'd be really cool. And yeah, now that we talked about again, we don't know if there's gonna be any difference between characters in their super form yet, but we do know about having all those options, plus the obvious invincibility and extra jump height, stuff like that. So yeah, now that we talked about super forms, I think we only have a few more things to talk about. One being, there are going to be 2 separate modes in the game. There's going to be a story mode and, quote unquote, a classic mode. There are going to be 2 separate modes of playing through the game's main story, and obviously you'd be able to swap between one or the other at any time. What I was thinking was we would have classic mode be just like the classic games, go from stage to stage to stage to stage. And then between each stage, or zone, whatever you want to call it, whatever, there would be a stage transition similar to Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Mania. And there would just be stage transitions, and there would be no voice acting. It'd all be done through, like, pantomime, like, everything, and just be like the classics. And, like, the story wouldn't be any less, like, effective. The story is still simple enough to begin with, but there's also, like, you know, areas where, like, you get to see, like, secrets about, like, the next level, or hints of later levels, or, like, maybe, like, a secret thing adding to Eggman's plan, because this is a modern Sonic game. The story's gonna be slightly more, like, you know, in-depth, but not really. It's just going to have, like, oh, there's a nice little, like, foreshadowing of, like, a later level that's going to happen. It doesn't take away or add really anything, but it's just a little... There's a little something added on in the background. Like, you'd have to pay attention to the background.
Yeah, like...
However, if you were to do... Yes?
Yeah, so one example that Cryer and I discussed about earlier about like what that would be is an example pulled straight from Mania. So in Sonic Mania, when you complete Press Garden Act 2 and you defeat the Heavy Shinobi, you run into Eggman, who's like typing away at this computer, and at the screen you can see, if you're paying attention, you can see images of Little Planet and Metal Sonic. And so that basically hints, oh, we're going to start a speedway. And then Eggman activates the Phantom Ruby, you get caught in it, and then you're sent immediately to start a speedway Act 1. You're gonna know, okay, we're probably gonna fight Metal Sonic at the end of this, and that's what ends up happening at the end of Stardust Speedway Act 2. And basically, so like an example to fit this game would be, let's say Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles break into one of Eggman's factories or laboratories or whatever. When they reach the end, and beat the boss, Tails goes through, like the level transition would be like, Tails looking through the computer, and then all of a sudden something, but he's interrupted because all of a sudden something grabs everyone's attention, and then they end up leaving the lab. But then, like, suddenly the screen lights up, and then you can see, like, a bunch of blueprints and, like, a bunch of data around, like, maybe Metal Sonic, or maybe some kind of... Actually, probably not Metal Sonic, because Metal Sonic's a skin, so probably, like, I don't know, maybe Mecha Sonic from Sonic 3 or something like that. I don't know, just some kind of thing, or maybe just foreshadowing a future boss, or a point that's gonna happen in like maybe the next zone, or like 2 zones from then, or something like that. That would be what classic mode would do. In the story mode, what would end up happening is that it's that, but there's voice acting happening in, and it's like Sonic and Knuckles are just like are talking while Tails is going through Eggman's computer, and then he finds like the information and image on like a future boss or whatever, and then they were like, okay, so this is something we should expect, or something like that. And then they get like, they hear something, and then they leave, and then head off to the next zone.
Yeah, so basically that's satisfying both the people that want a more in-depth, like, story with voice acting, but then again, the story isn't more in-depth, but it's just being, like, more explained, so that way it feels more, you know, I guess, bigger than what it normally is. Like, kind of what colors it, only Sonic wouldn't be making cheesy jokes every 5 seconds. And then the classic mode would be appealing to those that would, like, prefer something more like, again, the classics with no voice acting. So basically, do you want voice acting and more, like, you know, cinematic storytelling, or do you want more classic, no voice acting, like, type of storytelling? Something like that, you'd get to choose. And again, if you, like, go into the options menu, you'd be able to switch between classic and, like, story mode at any point in the game, whether you have beaten the game yet or not, just because, well, at any time you might feel, I want to know what the cutscenes are like, or I want to know what it's like just with stage transitions instead of cutscenes. You know, at any time, just when you feel like it, because the core game itself will not change. Levels will not change. Stuff like that, none of that changes, except for at the end of a level, whether you get a stage transition or a cutscene. That's all that's different, right?
Oh, and also like voice acting throughout the level. So like you know how in Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Generation, Sonic makes like some kind of he can make certain grunts or shouts or something like that when he's homing attacking or boosting or something like that. And then at the end of the level, he's like he could go like in Unleashed and 06, he goes like depending on what rank you get. Like I know in 06 when he gets in S rank, he's like piece of cake, no sweat, or something like that. So that's another thing that the story mode would have that would end up being that would just be removed in the classic mode.
Yeah. Also, something we wanted to talk about is like the ranking system. This is going to be simple. It'll be just like in games like Adventure 2 and Unleashed, where it's based off of not necessarily just time, but also how many rings you can get, how fast you can do it. Maybe you could get bonus points for performing like stylish moves like bouncing over enemies, and the more enemies you bounce off of in succession and how high you are when you do it, stuff like that. Basically, however long you keep a badnik bounce going, maybe for every enemy you hit, you get more points, or maybe you get like bonus points for like stylishness, stuff like that. Or maybe like going faster and faster and maintaining that speed, or making quickly through platforming sections while maintaining speed, collecting rings, defeating badniks. Basically, your traditional ranking system, only with a few more things added on, and of course you'd get like anywhere from an E rank to an S rank, obviously. Now that we talked about that, I think there's only like, yeah, we talked about the story, the gameplay, special stages, super forms, stage transitions, cutscenes. I think, have we done everything besides like the one thing that we said we would talk about later?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the only thing is that we had in mind was the only thing that's left is what we talked about right before recording. That was like an idea for a level, and also kind of like what we mentioned earlier, where a possible story / narrative for this game would be Eggman's trying to harness the Earth's resources and energy for whatever malicious scheme he's making. So yeah, I think we've covered everything we talked about before. So yeah.
All right. So the first stage idea we came up with, the only stage idea we came up with, was a level called. We've been iffy on the name. We don't know what the name is going to be, but so far we're thinking about something along the lines of Hydraulic Hotel. Think of something like Sonic CD with like alliteration and stuff like that. Obviously, from the name, you can tell it's a hotel that's set underwater. How Sonic would get to the stage is he would like go from, say, a tropical area off like the side of like a beach or something along those lines, and start running across the water somehow, and then between stages or the cutscene, you cut to the next level, and as it starts, Sonic is running on that water and then instantly goes like down into an entrance into the hotel. We don't have too much of the actual level planned out, but we do know that the like aesthetic of the level is going to be basically imagine Aquarium Park from Sonic Colors, only imagine if everything was just glass, everything was transparent, you could see the entire ocean like miles ahead of you and from any direction. Also, this would be a great time to take advantage of something I really want in the game, which is camera control. I want free-range, 360-degree camera control. Like, so you can look around the entire level from whatever angle you want. It seems trivial, and it seems obvious, but something that has, like, bugged me since games like, somewhat Unleashed, even though Unleashed had camera control, like, somewhat, and then games, especially games like Colors. Ever since Colors, we have not had camera control in a 3D Sonic game, and I think, like, the series would massively benefit from having something like camera control. It would be minor, but it would be a lot better for exploring these massive levels, and especially when playing games like Generations, when I'm exploring levels like Seaside Hill with how open they are, it sort of bugs me when I try to backtrack and go through an alternate path, and yet I can't see what I'm doing because of camera control. So...
Real quick.
Yeah?
And something to add on that, basically, nowadays, all the consoles have two analogs. Like, the Switch has two analogs. The the PS4 and the Xbox One also have 2 analog sticks. So one would be for controlling Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. The other would be probably for controlling the camera.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, this level theme of Hydraulic Hotel would be again transparent. You see the ocean, everything, and then you go through a regular level. Of course, there would be multiple pathways, a lot of hidden goodies, Sonic only pathways, Tails only pathways, Knuckles only pathways, the gist of what we were talking about. And then I thought of one possible hidden area, because I don't want to use a casino-themed level in the game. I don't want to do that. I don't want to use any previous themes from any other Sonic game. You could say that the Hydraulic Hotel is similar to, you know, Aquarium Park, but it's not a park. It's a suite. It's a hotel. It has, like, a different vibe. It's like, it also doubles as a factory, where Eggman is harnessing the power of the ocean and almost draining the ocean of what it is, like he's draining the water. And therefore, that ties into the plot and everything, and it feels like more, like the levels can feel connected. And, with this hotel, Hydraulic Hotel Zone, I thought of there being, like, maybe this could be, like, a character-only specific pathway, or maybe it could just be, like, a little hidden area, or an optional route. You would find, like, a little casino-based area where you'd have lots of, like, slot machines, and you'd have, like, flippers and bumpers, and you could enter this one pinball section where you could get, like, red rings, extra points, stuff like that. It wouldn't be a casino stage, but it'd be, like, one little room that would be, like, a homage to classic, like, casino-themed levels in Sonic.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, something similar to Casinopolis from Sonic Adventure. Even though that whole area is a whole zone, it could just be that one area that has all, like, the different pinball machines, like the Sonic pinball and the, for some reason, Nights into Dreams pinball, but, like, no pirate ship thing that you can access while playing as Knuckles, and no sewer or anything like that. I'm pretty sure if there's anything gonna be like the sewer, it's just gonna that's gonna kick you back into the rest of the stage.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we were going for. And then we thought of one way of how the level could end. Now, there's always been like set pieces in modern Sonic games. Levels like in City Escape, you got the gun truck, or in Crisis City, you had like the skateboarding sequence or the Mach Speed sections. And in Unleashed, you had moments where you're running away from that giant robot. Well, what we wanted to do is make sure that there were cinematic, like, you know, standout set pieces, but yet they didn't feel, like, boring. It wasn't like the killer whale in Emerald Coast where it's like, oh, it looks cool the first time, but after the first time it just kind of feels like, oh, it's 20 seconds where I'm doing nothing and then I've just gotta wait to play the rest of the level. No, we wanted to make sure that you're still engaged while playing the stage.
Yeah, with that, it's funny how you mentioned that, because it's hilarious how people say Sonic Forces is automated. And don't even mention that part where it's basically, you're just holding down and going and hitting a bunch of dash panels over and over and over and over and over again, while the whale is just following you, and you don't, it's like, I've never really, felt like I could die in that portion of the stage, so, yeah, we're not doing that. Although, who knows,
Yeah.
we could carry the tradition taken from Adventure in 06, where Sonic pisses off a killer whale at some point, and who knows, it could be like he's running, he's underwater. It's an underwater hotel, so it's kind of like some of those aquariums, some of those fancy aquariums that, like, the whole thing's underwater. And, like, there's, like, these glass panels that are separating you from drowning and getting eaten by a shark. And at one point, we could just have, like, some kind of killer whale just ram against the glass and probably maybe crack it, or maybe it could break it and have basically another incentive to run, because then the whole, like, the floor is starting to slowly rise with water, and if you don't escape fast enough, it's like Chemical Plant Zone, where if you, that one infamous area where if you don't jump on the boxes correctly, you're either gonna get squished because the pixel limitation or whatever, all that stuff is unfair, or you're gonna drown.
Yeah, like, yeah, I didn't think of the killer whale thing. That was a really nice touch. But I was thinking like, yeah, a similar thing where it's like the place is slowly filling up with water. And again, don't think that if you fall underwater you're going to die. Water is never a bottomless pit in this game. The only time where water would technically be considered death is when it's like out, like in the background, but really you're never going to be there. It's a background thing. The only water that you can be in this hypothetical Sonic game, you'll always be able to go underwater and go through like different areas and stuff like that. So, like, if in the set piece, don't think that just because you're underwater you're not going to be able to escape. You can still escape that set piece, it'll just be a lot more difficult. Think of it as falling into the water being a punishment, similar to in games like Sonic 2 with Aquatic Ruin, where if you're, like, underwater, it acts more as a punishment as opposed to, like, instant death, like in most modern Sonic games, if not all of them. But, like, the set piece will be like, oh, Sonic's running underwater, and then, like, at the very end of the level, you see, like, oh, he reaches, like, the elevator or something, and then, like, right before, like, the place starts to fill up with water, and, like, there's, like, a giant wave of water coming towards him, like, right before the wave hits, like, Sonic, and he would die or something, the elevator closes, and then he starts rising up to, like, the end of the park, and then you see, like, the entire, like, hotel being, like, completely, like, flooded and, like, ruined completely. And then it would be quick, but again, it's completely optional. You may have the camera turned so you never look at it. But then again, it's completely optional. You want to see a more cinematic view of the level? Be my guest, go right ahead. Do whatever you want. And then, like, as Sonic rises up from the elevator after a few seconds, that's when you reach the end of the level. And then right from there, Sonic goes, like, running away from the hotel, and then, say, a difference between classic and modern mode, or whatever you want to call it, story, I don't care. You have classic mode, where, like, Sonic, when Sonic runs across the water, you see, like, the machine that Eggman was using to suck out the water, suck out the ocean, essentially. And then, as you move on to the next level, you see that, like, you go from running across the ocean, and then you start, like, running up, say, a hill in the next level where it's, like, sand or something, and you think it's going to be a desert level, but in reality, it's just, like, you know, say, a shoreline that's been drained of most of its water, so all the sand that's there acts more as a hill than anything at the start of the level, as opposed to just running on the front of the beach. And then that's how you get, like, say, your tropical, like, jungle level or something like that. And then in, like, modern mode, you would see, like, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles focusing on the fact that the machine's there, and then they would look into the distance and see that all the water has been drained from the shoreline and that Eggman is causing serious damage to the environment, therefore pushing like, the theme of nature versus technology. That's always been a theme of Sonic. Then again, consistency. It doesn't have to be this overly complex plot, but there's still, like, sinister undertones where if you read into it, it can be a lot more complex. That's the point of it. If you go for classic mode, you can ignore all that. If you go for a more cinematic experience with the story mode, you can get more of an in-depth, more sinister, more complex plot. Even though it's not more complex, it's just being elaborated on slightly more focus is put onto the themes of the game.
And also, real quick about, like, the quote-unquote cutscenes in classic mode. Well, we had an idea for those, like, they would be very short level transition-y cutscenes, but they'd be kind of in the similar style of Mania Adventures, where they'd be short, and obviously everyone would be mute, no one would be talking, but you could tell that they're reacting to what's going on by their facial expressions and their subtle movements and things like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's what we're going for.
So yeah, you can obviously see it's not so, like, you could tell that just by looking at their facial expressions, similar to how everyone's facial expressions in Mania Adventures are to them reacting to anything. You could see that in these characters, how they're responding to people, to everything that's around them, to Eggman's plan and things like that.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add on to the theme of the level?
I don't know. Maybe like this is gonna be a resort, so maybe have something like you like at one point have a lobby that could probably be where that would lead to the that could lead to the casino area, and also like have at one point you could like run through one, maybe like you could run through one of the rooms or something like that just to see, oh yeah, Eggman is actually making an actual resort, just to mask the fact that he's draining the water out of the sea. And because it's a cover-up, because in Sonic Colors he was trying to remove suspicion away from him, thinking that he was doing something evil by saying, no, I'm having a space interstellar amusement park. However, he wasn't that subtle about it with all those hilarious intercom PAs, which just shows how much he does not care about this. But yeah, it's just trying to show that just by the level design that Eggman is doing something evil, but he's covering it up.
Yeah. Are there any like level set pieces within the lobby or anything that you want to add? Like any Tails, Knuckles, Sonic with new pathways that you think of, anything like that?
I don't know. Can't really think of anything. Maybe there could be like one specific area that I like. I don't know. I can't really think of anything right now. I've just been like those certain ideas, like with the killer whale. That was like, and also the lobby and the rooms. Those were what I came up with.
All right. Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So yeah, have we covered everything about this game?
I think so. Anything you want? Yeah, any input you want to have?
I mean, we've been thinking of like a random title for what this game could be called. I was thinking something like Sonic Revolution or something. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the title of the game, but it's like just, you know, random ideas. But yeah, I think we covered everything. So yeah, this was just a fun little experiment for what we thought like a perfect Sonic game would be, or at least like the best compromise between classic and modern fans, without interfering with the classic fans' Sonic Mania, and still having something for modern fans that still feels like Sonic, while staying consistent with the classic ideologies of classic Sonic, basically trying to bring the fan base together as much as we can.
Yeah. So yeah, this is all about, we're trying to bridge the gap that has been created with how we got Sonic Mania, who's like its massive success that was made by Sonic fans and hackers and things like that. Meanwhile, we have the professional Sonic team making the unfortunate, slight disappointment that is Sonic Forces. And please do not shove your comments that Forces was the best game ever down in the comments, because please. We're not trying to degrade Sonic Team or anything like that. What we're trying to do is trying to come up with possible ideas that could help fix some of what's going on. Obviously, there's a thing that that the Sonic fan base as a whole has to realize. You can't please everybody. We're trying to please as many people as we can. That's why we're trying to bridge the gap between modern and classic fans. That's why we're trying to bring in a bunch of things with modern Sonic and classic Sonic games. Everything that they have in common, add things into one game. Sonic Lost World tried to do that with similar things. That's why it was just Sonic, Tails, and Eggman. And Sonic had the spin dash bag, no boost. It focused mainly on platforming. However, there were several other things that just like made the game just fall down, and like those cons were so prevalent that they just covered up some of the cool and interesting ideas that it had. So yeah, that's what the whole reason why it's called Sonic Revolution. It's not saying that it's like, oh, an in-game revolution through the story. No, that's not what it is. It's we're trying to revolutionize how Sonic games are, and I mean, this isn't like fully ambitious, and a fully ambitious game story-wise, like say, I don't know, Adventure 2 or 06 or Shadow the Hedgehog or anything like that, telling out complex storylines. No, it's simple because Sonic stories were simple in the beginning. However, we still want to give a story because in the with Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, that's what gave Sonic as a platformer an advantage over other game series like Mario or Crash Bandicoot. Those games those games weren't as focused on story as Sonic was at that point. And even now, Mario games aren't really story focused. At least the main ones that are fully developed by Nintendo. You have the early Paper Mario games and the Mario and Luigi games developed by Intelligent Systems and Alpha Dream. Those aren't Nintendo, but they make very in-depth and detailed stories. However, with really the most in-depth story we've ever gotten out of a main series Mario game is Rosalina's backstory in Super Mario Galaxy. With this game, we're trying to make it as simple yet also immersive, like in a way that both classic and modern fans will enjoy. Because I feel like because I feel like like I said before, one of the main things that kind of makes Sonic games a bit unique is that they're a platformer, yet they focus quite a lot on story, and that's something that I as a writer, first of all, and I'm really into lore and story and all that, so I just want to keep that in a way intact. I'm fine with a simple story. After all, Sonic Colors was the first game I ever played, and that's a pretty simple story. Some of the writing was a bit questionable here and there, but still, it's like I'm fine with that. It's just that it doesn't have to be fully ambitious, like I said earlier. It doesn't have to be the next Adventure 2 or 06 or anything like that. Even though 06's story was a little convoluted, it was still very complicated and ambitious. We're not trying to do that. We're just trying to make it simple. So yeah, that's just one thing that I wanted to add there. So
yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, and the whole gameplay aspect, again, doing the same thing, because, like, again, not meaning to, like, degrade Sonic game or anything, I'm sure they work very hard, but it's like, you know, we feel like Sonic games aren't what they should be, I guess you could say. Like, Generations came close to what a modern Sonic game could be, but, like, we're basically trying to combine the best aspects of both adventure and the boost formula, and then not copy classic Sonic, but take the, like, elements of classic Sonic that are essential to any Sonic game. The parts of, like, the classic Sonic games translated into modern Sonic games that still make you feel like you're playing a Sonic game, no matter what gameplay style it is. And we just feel like that's been missing from the series, and it feels like the line between, like, classic and modern Sonic has become more distant. We just want to make a game where it's like, we don't need to distinguish between the classic and modern Sonic gameplay and ideologies. One's different, yes, but it's more just, you know, it's just an evolution of classic Sonic in general, and the next step for 3D Sonic.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe we should have called this Sonic Evolution or something like that, I don't know.
Sonic Evolution. Sonic Revolution.
Viva la Sonic Revolution.
But,
Sonic Mega Evolution.
Oh, that's Super Sonic right there.
But yeah. So yeah, that's everything we have for you guys. Please make sure to comment down below and tell us what you guys think, because we've been thinking about this a lot, and we think it'd be a pretty good idea to bridge the gap between classic and modern fans. And if you guys have any suggestions for what like you would do with this hypothetical Sonic game, we're open to it. Please let us know, because that's how discussion starts. That's the play on words. But yeah, let us know. It's always nice to have a fun discussion. Before we sign off, do you have anything to say? Add MegaLegoLuigi, besides plugging your channel. Also, I gotta plug mine. I'm Cryogenic Gamer, even though I said that in the beginning of the video. Please subscribe and like all my videos. Follow me on Twitter and do things with me, because I am a fantastic YouTuber, and I'm good. That may or may not be a lie, but good. Yeah. Plug.
Okay, so, one last thing is that actually, I remember when, right after Sonic Forces came out, I made this little Google Doc of, like, potential Sonic game ideas, and, I might save that for another video, but I just want to, say that, like, that we could maybe do another one of these at some point. I don't know, because there's another game I have in mind that I put a lot of focus into, starring Silver the Hedgehog. So who knows? Maybe this could be like a little mini series or something like that, where we discuss potential Sonic game ideas. And who knows? It might develop into a fan game. And who knows, if we're lucky enough and we praise to our Lord and Savior Chaos, we might be able to. I don't know. We might be. I don't know, or maybe it could just be someone else who's able to present this to Sega, and it'd be the next Christian Whitehead, but for 3D Sonic instead of 2D.
I mean, with anything, we have like a 0.1% chance, but you know.
You mean there's a chance?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's all we have. So that was fun. I don't really know how to end this, but yeah, let us know what you think in the comments, and maybe share this video around if you have like somebody that has ideas for a Sonic game. I think we came up with something pretty thorough here, so yeah, have fun with this, think about it, give us your ideas in the comments. It was a pretty fun discussion. Yeah, so yeah, anyways, I have been the Cryogenic Gamer, and this fine sir has been MegaLegoLuigiEX, which is going to be really weird if it's on his channel, and I'm the one saying that he's been with me, and yeah.
They're breaking the football. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been, okay, this is my turn. This has been MegaLegoLuigiEX, along with Cryogenic Gamer, in today's installment of future Sonic games discussion. Hope you guys have a nice day. Peace.